Happy Monday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie.
Welcome to Something's Off, where we try not to, well, we don't try very hard because we're not the kind of people who say the N-word, but we're going to,
Never in my whole life.
No, we don't do that.
Not even a word that rhymes with it to stand in for it. Never in my whole life. And this is not me virtue signaling. It is absolutely true.
We don't do that here.
Our final obscenity, as my husband always says. Yeah. Oh, they do. And they seem to really enjoy it.
Michael Proctor seems to say it with such ease. It's the ease of the
It's his
racism.
favorite word. I mean, I think there's something like the tabooness of it or whatever. He doesn't see it as taboo anymore, but I think it might be his favorite word.
It's that weird, stupid thing that certain white dudes do to like act tough and act like they don't care about, social norms. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And so they say it because, I'm just like, oh, I'm so great. It's what Lupo Lawyer did.
I don't even say it when I'm singing along to a song because that's wrong.
No, absolutely not. Nobody should. I mean, like
nobody who's white should do that.
No.
Period.
So we're unfortunately going to be covering more. We thought that we had seen the worst of it. We were very, very, very wrong. So we're going to be covering that filing in the Miles King case today, as well as one of the things that I was so happy about. And it's something that I didn't really focus on before, but in this filing, Scapicchio made sure to point out all of Lally's failures. And I'm really excited to talk about that, which is really interesting to me. We're also going to be talking about the horrific case in
Mel, you went mute. You're muted, friend. All right, I'll just fill in the meantime. I think Mel is talking about the Adam Montgomery. Part of his conviction was overturned by the New Hampshire Supreme Court due to a legal procedural issue that they found to be having biased him in the legal process. And that's an interesting case. I can't talk about it with a lot of granularity because of my newsroom has covered the case extensively, but I can give you general impressions and how people are reacting to it here. So, all right, I finished your Adam Montgomery sentence for you.
I appreciate that. We're going to, like Rebecca said, we're not going to go into too much depth, but we are going to go over the filing and what the Supreme Court decided and why they decided what they did. I have a very quick update about a case I covered on the In Between podcast, which I think we covered it here as well, the Veronica Rodriguez case. And you are going to cover a very interesting filing about
brand new breaking news.
Colin
Albert's complaining about being asked for stuff.
Fuck Colin Albert, man. I'm just, why is everybody protecting this precious, precious boy?
Because he's a precious, precious boy.
He's a precious, precious boy.
He's a precious boy. He's such a good boy. One of my dogs are going to come running. That's my talk to the dogs voice. By the way, the sun just went behind a tree. So I'm going to, if it like just the specific time of year. I don't know if you know about the Vidara in Las Vegas. There's this hotel in Las Vegas where we stayed there once, and the sun, it has what's called like a death laser. The way it was done architecturally, there's this one part of the building that reflects a beam of sun down onto the pool deck, and if like you put your hand in it, it will literally burn you because it's like this crazy beam. So I have that a couple of weeks a year. I get it right here because like at this time of morning, and so for the next few days when I'm on here, you might see like a lot of washed out sun stuff here, but it just went behind.
You look great.
Thank you.
Great. How's the new desk?
I am so comfortable and happy. And for those who don't know, like all of you, because you don't live in my house, in 2020, when I started working at home, I got because of the pandemic, I got a little like sofa table thing for behind the sofa. And
Mhm.
I brought this, my work desk is in my living room, even though we have a studio downstairs.
Right.
And because I like being in the middle of the action. I like being in the nicest room I have to work because I decorated it and like this is what I want it to be like. So
Nice.
anyway, so yeah, so I finally got a real big girl desk. I wasn't able to put my knees under the piece of furniture that I've been using as a
That's
desk
crazy.
for 6 years. I've been riding it side saddle.
Mm-mm.
Now
Nope.
I have a new chair. I
So
have a
bad for
new
your posture.
desk. I have a new, thanks to Amanda Planner Girl, Masters merch
Love
water
it.
cup. She also sent me a hat and a keychain. Amanda, thank you so, so much. Amanda has
You're the
some sort of
best.
special access to the store that sells the licensed Masters merch and in Augusta, and I just could not be happier. So thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. I am drinking out of my new Le Creuset. I got rainbow Le
I
Creuset
love
cups.
those mugs. Yeah, I have them in
Oh,
orange. Speaking of which, we're just waiting to hear from Jimmy about the person who won the package that we
oh
gave
yeah.
away on the Turtle Boy fundraiser on his show. We gave away coming on the podcast if you choose. You can come on the podcast. Either you can pick any stream you want. You can come on if you choose. And then I'm going to send them my signed Parrot cup. And yes, I have already procured a replacement for tonight. And Mel was going to send her your hot mug, whoever it
I'm
is,
gonna
your hot
sign
mug.
it
So
as well.
I think it was a baller prize package that we just cobbled together at the last minute. But
Yeah.
I'm excited
Post
to have
show.
whoever that is on the show.
Yeah, me too. What else do we have for we are kind of stuck at 9,500 or so subscribers. So we're really trying to get to 10,000. I hope we can do that this week. I think we can do it this week. We haven't decided what we're going to do when we get to 10. We'll talk about that offline. But I think we're going to be close to 10 this week, if not hitting 10, I think. But anyway, go like
I
the
hope
video,
so.
subscribe.
I hope so. Like the video, tell your friends to subscribe. And if they don't, they'll lose us.
It's Happy Pride Month. Do it for me.
It is. Happy Pride Month.
It's Happy Pride Month. I'm wearing my rainbow Boston Red Sox.
That is so gay.
Hey, how about those Knicks?
Mel?
I had
Mel.
full body chills. I am obsessed with Brunson. He is my idol. I love that man so much.
Mel?
Yes.
When I tell you that yesterday was one of the best days of my entire life, like I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. I woke up jubilant. We came home. We had to watch it in a bar in Massachusetts, and it was like a little bit awkward. But luckily, we were there with a guy who used to work there, and he got them to keep the TVs on later for us. But then they walked through as they were doing the ceremony and turned the TV off, and I was like, "The fuck." So we went back to our hotel and I watched it in the parking lot on my phone. But then yesterday we came home from Massachusetts and I watched the fourth quarter again.
Yeah.
Watched the whole trophy ceremony. I've watched every single video by people celebrating on the streets of New York. For those who don't know, that is my one beloved team that I've had my whole life. And the year I was born was the last time they won a championship. And I have been waiting for this literally my entire life. And if it never, and I think people who like are Red Sox fans, like from 2004 will remember this. If it never happens again in my entire life, that's fine. I would love it too.
Yeah.
But if it never happens again, I have this one and it was a perfect one. And it was the only thing that one thing could have made it better. And that would have been if Mariska was able to be in San Antonio. But like, I love that they went on the road. I love what it did for the city. I really think more people came outside in New York because they were on the road. Like, it was perfect.
Did you see videos? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Wemby, giant baby. He actually literally is. He's 22. So like, I give him a little slack because he's a very immature player. But he was a bully. He played dirty, and then he was a poor loser. Which, by the way,
how about those flagrant fouls, huh? How about those flagrant fouls? How about the press conference?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a giant. I think in a few years he will look back on his play and his behavior in this series, and he will regret it. But
well, at least you hope he will. I mean,
but man, I just can't tell you like. Just seeing, and that's not a sports podcast, but seeing Brunson, who is the most stoic player I've ever seen in my life in any sport.
He's lovely.
He's as stoic as Tiger Woods was in his prime, which is saying a lot because Tiger Woods was stoic as hell. He is stoic as hell, and to see him smile, like I literally burst into tears, which it makes me sound really silly. But the Spurs were ahead for literally, they had more points on the board for like 75% of the finals. And that was what Wemby said at the press conference. He's
How?
like, we were winning it most of the time. Yeah, that doesn't fucking matter. What matters is the fourth quarter.
No. And I'm like, the game, it was the game before when they were down 30 points where everyone
29.
turned the game off. I was like, I'm going to check in because I feel like something's going to happen. And I couldn't believe it. They were down by 29 points and they came back and won by one. And that tip in, I was just like, come on, OG. Okay. Anyway.
I love how I've made you an instant Knicks fan. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for jumping on.
Not only a Knicks fan, I never watch basketball, and I'm obsessed now. I'm like, this game is fascinating.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Lindsey and our oldest, we like stayed up to watch it. They fell asleep. I was literally standing up in my living room for the last 2 minutes of the game, just like, this is the most amazing drama ever.
Yeah. And their stories are incredible. I mean, three dudes who played together at Villanova and won a national championship, now playing together again. You know, you have Cat and his poor grieving of his mom. You have Brunson, whose father is an assistant coach on the Knicks, and he eschewed a $100 million part of his contract so that the Knicks could afford to bring on guys he knew would make the team winners. Like, what athletes do you hear who are like either 150 or 250 million? Which do you want? Well, I'll take the 150 so that my team can afford to bring on my friends and the guys that we need to win. Like, incredible story. And I know that some people don't like any New York teams because they see New York fandom as horrible. Every city has horrible fandom of some kind. I think New York fandom, for the Knicks in particular, I don't give a shit about the Yankees. I don't give a shit about the Giants. Have a horrible fan base, by the way, horrible. But like they really do. But the Knicks there's a purity to the love of the Knicks that because they play in a janky ass arena. I'm sorry, Madison Square Garden is a janky ass arena. It has not really been updated a lot since I went to the circus and Knicks games there when I was a kid, and it looks exactly the fucking same. And it's just like they've come so close so many times, not recently, but in the last 20 years ago. And it never happened. And seeing Patrick Ewing there and seeing the commercial with Brunson and John Starks, like, I'm dead. I'm absolutely dead. So anyway, thank you for jumping on my bandwagon, Mel, and being so supportive of my fandom of this team that I love so much.
I'm a huge fan now. I searched all day yesterday to try to find a Brunson jersey that I could buy and wear this morning, and I couldn't find one anywhere local. So I'm gonna order one, just like a t-shirt, not like a jersey. But I'm just like,
you can wear a jersey though.
No, I'm not. I don't usually splurge for like a jersey.
Oh, I thought that was part of the lesbian pantheon of clothing items that were like acceptable to wear. No.
Well, I mean, it's acceptable to wear. It's just not for me.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I stereotyped just then.
No, it's fine. I mean, here I am coming out again every day. We have to come out.
Must be so hard. Happy Pride.
It is hard sometimes. Okay, shall we get to the true crime of it all?
Yes.
Oh wait,
one
other thing. We're going to be very, maybe that's what we'll have in the beginning of our episode.
Sports Corner with Rebecca Lavoie.
What's going on?
Sports Corner.
So Melanie Little mentioned this on her stream, and I thought it was important enough to mention in our stream, even though obviously we're not as big as her, and she probably has, more of an issue with this than we do right now. But we have to be very careful about how we talk about some of these filings because of the language that Michael Proctor and his buddies use. So the filing that we have, Rosemary Scapicchio had already gone through and put asterisks in the word so that the word wasn't actually in the filing. So that really helped us out. But I just want to remind the chat to be careful to not say, what's the word I'm looking for, Rebecca?
Don't say provocative things with racial undertones in our chat.
Don't quote Michael Proctor in our chat.
Don't quote Michael Proctor in any way. Don't talk about hate groups. Don't do stuff that could get our video demonetized, taken down, etc. Because we are spending a lot of time on this. Yes, we're shadow banned. Shadow banned sounds like the name of a racehorse.
Yeah.
Shadow banned. Shadow banned actually would be a good racehorse name.
It sucks because basically there's no like data about it. It just happens. Like, their AI sort of monitors creators' content, and they decide if something is like butting up against the line or if it's going over the line, and you don't really know what's happening. they don't take the video down. They just stop promoting it. So we just have to be careful. So I wanted to mention that. And then also, please become a member of the channel. We do members only nights on Mondays. And our tonight our show is called
the night.
Oh, geez. Okay, Rod Stewart, slow down. We are doing our series Cross Roast, which we do on Monday nights, where Rebecca has some frosé and gets a little toasty, and I force her to watch awkward cross-examinations from the Karen Reed trials.
Correct.
Tonight we're gonna continue on with Michael Proctor, since it seems to be a theme right now.
We're not gonna do Colin?
Not yet. Colin's weird because it's mostly like, yeah, I don't recall. I don't remember that. Oh, when I fell, I put my fist down and knuckles first on the concrete.
That comes up in his filing. Well, not that piece does, but the knuckle situation comes up in his filing.
I bet it does. But yeah, Rebecca, hopefully she'll have something to eat. Or maybe she won't tonight, because when she doesn't eat something, then she gets toasty quicker. And it's pretty funny.
I'm not big enough to drink that much, but I do anyway. For you, opinion, I'm doing it for you, for all of you.
Oh, really? No, don't blame your alcoholism on me.
I won't.
Okay,
I won't. Until I'm drunk, and then I will 100% blame it on you.
I know you will. All right, let's get started with the Colin filing, which I admittedly know very little about. You're gonna tell me about it, and I will hopefully react appropriately.
Okay, let me pull it up, but I can tell you the gist of it in like 30 seconds. Colin Albert is complaining. Hold on, I don't have it open in Acrobat. Hold on one second.
My kid is obsessed right now with Love Island, and I just can't. I can't.
Why?
I can't get into it. It's so obnoxious to me. It's so ridiculously obnoxious.
Those shows are tough. I find those shows rough. There's one really rough one that my stepdaughter got super into during the pandemic, and it was the most pandemic show ever, and apparently it's coming back. It's called The Circle, where people are in a building together, but they never see each other. They only talk through their TVs, like through a screen to each other. And it's like a whole traders type game, but it's all on screen. So it's literally shot after shot after shot of someone sitting in a fake ass living room talking to their TV. And that's it. That's the whole show. And I'm like, it's rough. It's rough.
Oh.
Let Rebecca sing tonight again. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Okay. I was singing badly on purpose because I'm not a Rod Stewart fan. What can I say? So Colin Albert, our little boy Colin, is complaining about. So this is in the O'Keefe versus Reed wrongful death case, Reed and the bars. And as we saw in court, there was a whole squabble about whether or not Colin had been deposed. He had been deposed by plaintiff's counsel, but not by defense counsel. And this whole rigmarole around when he was served and what he was asked for, and blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot going on in that case right now that I'm telling you, Judge Gilday is not going to like. Judge Gilday, by the way, issued a crazy ass order over the weekend, where it was very short, and it was I want to know who you deposed, when you're deposing people, who's been scheduled, and what the dates are. And it's like you see all the lawyers on Twitter, like all the civil lawyers, and ask my friend too, who's an attorney, and they're like, no, this does not happen. So Judge Gilday, there's a lot of fighting going on about things that were said in court through these motions, and that's part of what this is. It's sort of like arguing about the timeline that Rosenberg laid out in a previous motion of them trying to catch Colin and get him to testify, and then the communications and the documents or whatever. And this motion is Colin saying, no, you didn't do any of the things you said. And so that's what this is. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's quite all these things. It's quite long, but like a lot of it is not substantive. It's just like attachments that are just other things. But the highlights are that they accuse Karen Reed, of a cynical years-long campaign to scapegoat Colin and many others. Okay. Here's another line I love. It is undisputed that Colin was not present at 34 Fairview Road. I just want to give one quick, I forgot to say one thing that's very important.
Yeah.
I want to thank Kelly Steffi on Twitter. I saw a talk of this motion this morning, and she sent it and she tweeted it and tagged me in it so I could see it. So I appreciate that. We're only looking at this
Nice.
because of Kelly this morning. So it is undisputed that Colin was not present at 34 Fairview Road. Undisputed. Even though there's been testimony that he was in fact there, and even though, well, I'll show you in a sec. So basically they're saying they're a non-party. He's not relevant to this case. So here we go with some of the Army stuff. And on May 19th, Colin's counsel learned that Colin had applied to enlist in the United States Army. And on May 20th, Colin's application was approved. So it sounds like Colin didn't really keep his lawyer in the know about his intention here. Does anyone really think he decided on the 19th, filled out the application and went in on the 20th? No, of course he knew. So that's fun. So they're saying that Reed's counsel falsely told the court that Colin had refused to appear for the deposition. And then they explain all of their version of the timeline that was not him refusing to appear. They reference a so-called defamation campaign against Colin. Poor Colin.
Poor baby Colin.
He's a good boy. David Yannetti would claim an individual called with a tip. Look at me highlighting in real time. And identified Colin as the responsible parties. That individual was identified as Steve Scanlon, a Canton resident who had previously admitted he had no personal knowledge. Oh no, this is like, it's just all this stuff that is all been argued before. Okay, but here's the thing that's fun.
This was written by Julie Albert, right?
I don't know. But the centerpiece of Reed and Kearney's false accusations against Colin was a Facebook photo taken a month after John O'Keefe's death, showing Colin had scraped the knuckles on his right hand. Hold on one second. I got to tell Kevin something real quick.
Okay. If you all remember, well, actually, we used it as our thumbnail last time. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good thumbnail, in my opinion. Yeah. It's a thumbnail where Colin Albert has his arms around me and Rebecca.
So it was really, really good. It was super good. So they're saying that photo of him with the scraped knuckles was taken a month after, and they knew it, and they relied on it to smear him during the trial. Okay. And then they provide samples.
Wait, can I just say one thing thing really quickly? Sorry to interrupt you. It's interesting that their lawyer allows them to say things like this, because it was testimony in trial, that picture. It wasn't used to smear Colin. It was testimony at trial. It
also wasn't stated in trial that he got the scrapes from punching John O'Keefe. It was because Colin lied on the stand and said he had never been in a fight.
But my point is that
that's why it was important evidence, because he said he had never been in a fight.
Why is the lawyer who wrote this filing, why are they allowing words like smear when
I added that
testimony?
But yes. I that was my take on it, was that I'm sure the word smear is in here, but I wasn't reading that from the filing. But it was testimony. But they do over and over say that they're false accusations, that they're defaming him, et cetera, et cetera. And then they show all the photos that clearly show no scrapes on Colin's knuckles or injuries to his knuckles after John O'Keefe's death. And those photos are displayed with timestamps below. So there's him on February 12th. Here's him in Canton. But by the way, these are screenshots of photos with timestamps. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, and there was an interesting thing that came out over the weekend. Speaking of timestamps, on the alleged fake screenshots between Lally and Colin.
Mm-hmm. We've discussed in the readathon extensively.
I'll have to find it on the Twitter, but apparently between two of the screenshots, on the date, the timestamp, one date has a comma between the date and the year, and another one doesn't.
Yeah, we went over this. Kevin and I talked about this extensively on the readathon. Those screenshots are super bullshit. I mean, they claim to be best friends, and then they didn't text for a month. The evidence Reed has submitted to lamely suggests, okay, that's in here, lamely suggests that Colin may have sustained injuries to his knuckles in connection with the death of O'Keefe and could not possibly support her theory because earlier photographs show the absence of injury. He lied on the stand and said he had never been in a fight. That's what that was about. So this is some of this. This is the Colin lawyer. Colin's lawyer is, it's signed at the end. It's Colin's lawyer.
This is so not lawyerly. Okay,
it is. I think it's lawyerly. I mean, it's lawyerly when you have a client that, like, you know, is saying that he was smeared and this is what you write. I mean, lawyers just, you know, they write what they need to get results for their client, and they thought this would work. So here's what I love. So Reed's counsel personally served Colin, which means they knocked on the door, with subpoena at his home, commanding him to produce a trove of documents within 6 days and attend a deposition within 8 days. How is this different from any other filings, any other subpoenas in this case? It isn't. And this judge has said over and over and over again that he wants things to move quickly. So now that they're complaining that the Reed team did something which would assent to that judge's request to do things quickly. So now they're complaining about that.
Okay.
Colin Albert joins the United States Army. On May 19th, Colin informed counsel that he would likely be joining the Army, and that if so, he would be forced to leave Massachusetts for initial and basic training beginning on June 2nd, and he would be gone until the fall of 2026.
Convenient. So convenient.
I mean, it is certainly convenient. So this is like a lot of more arguing about that. And I'm not skipping past anything. That's not just what I'm telling you it is. Okay, so here's the deposition he did with plaintiff's counsel. So look at this timing here. On May 22nd, the plaintiff served a subpoena on Colin through his counsel, commanding his attendance for a deposition on May 28th. So this is the day before he told counsel he was joining the Army.
Right.
He did a deposition for the O'Keefe's counsel, where he testified truthfully under oath regarding the events of January 29th, 2022, in addition to other issues.
Mm-hmm.
None of the 10 lawyers for Ms. Reed chose to attend Colin's deposition. Good times. Really good times. So what are your thoughts so far? Does it sound like a lot of whining to you?
It's just a lot of whining. I think that Gilday is going to be pissed off about this. I think he's going to be like, can we stop? Can you guys just do your fucking jobs?
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this?
So this is what Reed wanted. She wanted all documents, including communications relating to a named person or broadly defined topic, Karen Reed, John O'Keefe, Michael Proctor, the investigation, et cetera, which is what they want from everybody. It's also, by the way, exactly what they're asking Karen to produce.
Right.
G through I, all communications with Proctor, John O'Keefe, and Paul O'Keefe. So they want his communications with Paul.
Interesting.
Which tells me that they know there's communications with Paul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Demands all communications to the present with 12 named individuals, including Colin's own parents, aunts, and uncles.
Ooh, no. Uh-oh.
But Colin has no real connection to this litigation, and he is not a defendant. No, but he is a witness that supports a defense. So he is actually involved in this case. Reed's baseless accusations that Colin has, quote, violent tendencies and that Mr. O'Keefe had a series of prior disputes.
He did.
But like,
documented.
It's not, because literally his mom, Julie, changed John O'Keefe's name in her phone to what? Mr. What's it? I always forget the name. Mr.
Nebercracker.
Nebercracker, which shows that she knows that her son had disputes with John O'Keefe.
But the problem is that testimony, though, didn't, like, Yannetti, I love him to death, but that testimony didn't go very well for them.
Yeah.
The Nebercracker testimony. I mean, it sounded ludicrous, because to like a layperson or the jury, you're like, what are you saying? Like, they're calling him a cartoon character. But if you have the context of it, if you actually hear what Karen had to say, and in her explanation of it in the what was the interview for Boston Magazine?
Oh, Gretchen Voss.
Yeah, Gretchen Voss interview, the way that Karen details how it happened. If they had been able to bring all of that into court, I think the jury would have had a better understanding of their prior disputes.
But
instead, it was
wouldn't let him bring it in. So
yeah, it's a joke. So
yeah.
I'm really interested to see. I can't remember exactly that. So Bev made a ruling before trial 2. and it was about Proctor. Oh, it was about allowing these text messages in, and she made a ruling that didn't allow these text messages that we're about to go over in. And I'm like, I need to go back and look at that and understand why she did that. To me,
why she let them in?
Did not let them in.
Second trial.
These racist texts that we're about to talk about.
The racist texts. Well, they didn't exist in the second trial. We didn't have they weren't uncovered until the fall. That's when I heard the whole timeline. The Norfolk County DA's office turned them over to Scapicchio in the fall. That's when they got them. So they didn't exist.
No. In 2024, Massachusetts State Police, the FBI, everybody, they were covered in the grand jury. Bev knew about it.
Well, Bev knew about the ones on his work phone that related to the case, but she didn't know about all the N-word ones. Those didn't come out until the fall of 2025.
I think that's not.
I mean, the FBI may have known, but these came out as a result of Pandora's box opening and then getting his access to his iCloud and his Proctor's phone in the fall.
I understand that, but the Massachusetts State Police and the FBI were aware of these texts in 2024.
They're aware of some of his personal phone stuff. Yes, they were not aware of. Well, I think his bosses were aware because I think they were likely on the chains, but they weren't aware of these specific ones we're going to talk about today.
But I don't want to. I mean, obviously, we can't come to a conclusion.
We can't know exactly what they were aware of, but we know that law enforcement at large became aware of these specific texts in late summer, fall of 2025. It is why Proctor's lawyer quit his union case.
Right. I know that. My point was that I'm going to do some research and maybe we'll talk about it on our Thursday stream. But I saw yesterday, I believe it was, that there was a ruling that Bev made that was specific to these texts. So I'm going to look into it. I'll report back on it later. We can't talk about it right now because we don't have the information in front of us.
Yes. But by the way, we get a shout out in this filing. We're part of the online purveyors of lies who have adopted Reed's baseless claims and used them to torment and harass the witnesses.
We don't lie.
No, we're purveyors of lies.
We don't sell lies. We don't do that.
We're purveyors. So the conclusion here is that had Reed's counsel engaged in good faith to reach a reasonable consensus regarding the subpoena, this motion practice would have been unnecessary. They refused to do so. Instead, they offered Colin hollow compromises, which were indeed not compromises at all. This sounds like, contrary to Reed's accusation, the only one engaged in gamesmanship here appears to be her. It's like, this does strike me as quite like the judge is not going to like any of this. He's not going to like it. But the part I wanted to show you was at the end. Okay. So I'm going to go all the way to the end. As always, all the attachments are like, these are all the emails between the lawyers, blah, 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 and then previous filings and blah, 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 blah. It's all really like, you can look at it if you want. Yeah. The fun parts are the harassing or the smearing social media posts that they
made it.
Yep. You've got Boozy Beauty saying, according to today's O'Keefe Reed Canton Bar's hearing, Karen Reed's attorneys are preparing motions to compel against several witnesses, but the situation involving Colin Albert stood out. And then someone responded, oh, good. Colin is going to learn how to murder more efficiently. Aiden Kearney. Colin Albert has suddenly decided to join the army and will be unavailable to give a deposition in the Karen Reed lawsuit. Hopefully our country is a little safer now that we are being defended by a person who testified that an award-winning journalist speaking into a window. What this says is that he testified that he was scared by Turtle Boy. So, and then Susan said, does the army know he was in the house? So my understanding is that this video and this photo, contrary to the O'Keefe's family's lawyers' claims, were not posted as a result of filings. It was a parent or somebody at this swearing in ceremony that sent this to Turtle Boy directly.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that in the photo, can you go back to the photo?
Yeah.
It's Chris Albert. If you haven't seen the photo, he's standing off to the side watching Colin Albert get sworn into the army. And he is staring at the person who's taking the picture. So
correct.
Yeah, correct.
Correct. He's obviously been such a target of harassment that he knows how to look out for it.
Yeah.
Look at these boys who don't know how to stand up straight yet.
Yeah, they're all awkward. They all
There's actually something sweet about this video. I mean, well, it's just funny to watch guys who have just enlisted and don't know what they're doing yet try to, they're told to do this and they actually don't know how to do it yet. It's something kind of endearing and sad about it. Okay. Sir Earl of the Gray says, dodging your deposition to get sent to war. Good option, Colin. That doesn't make you and your family look ridiculously guilty. P.S. Everyone knows you're murderers based on your own testimonies. Dr. Turtleboy has nothing to do with that. Now Colin Albert can kill legally, someone else said, as a result of this tweet with our good little boy playing football.
That's what my first thought was when I saw that he was joining the military. I'm like, oh, great. So he can just take out his aggression on the battlefield, I guess. Gross.
Or in basic training and boxing. And here's a couple of Boston Brandy tweet. Colin quickly enlisted. Will they get to him before he jets off? It's amazing how some people can dodge a deposition with Olympic level agility, then suddenly discover a calling to serve when sworn testimony is on the horizon. And then Susie says, ooh, Colin refusing to appear. Why, Colin? Then saying you're only available for 7 days and that's it. What's up, Colin? Bang, bang. Refuse to produce documents.
Bang, bang.
Another Boozy Beauty tweet. And then Sir Thomas Wade. Nothing fishy about that timing at all. The McAlberts are hands down the dumbest yet most transparent criminals of all. First, they tried to hide little Collie Bear and now force him to enlist and ship off to boot camp. Can't help but feeling a little sorry for this now man-child. I don't feel sorry for him.
I don't feel sorry for him. I mean, it reminds me, Colin reminds me of the Shirilla case, the Mackenzie Shirilla case. It's a perfect example of parents who have coddled their problematic child. And helicopter parented their problematic child, and their problematic child can do no wrong, even though their problematic child does wrong on a daily basis. And to me, in my opinion, that's what we're seeing again. And I feel like in the next 10 to 15, 20 years, we're going to see a lot of defendants whose parents are trying to protect them because the parents didn't do what they should have done to begin with, which is hold their problematic children accountable. And it's kind of freaking me out. It's freaking me out to see the Shirilla case. It's freaking me out. The Colin matter has been freaking me out for 2 years. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about what the future holds. So, yeah.
We have a friend who's the VP of HR at a college. And she's also a lawyer. And her department handles Title IX complaints. So all sorts of complaints relating to young people. And also she gets complaints from parents about young people's treatment in school and stuff. And
you want to talk about what Title IX is really quickly so everyone knows?
It relates to sexual assault on campus. Or at least that's part of it anyway. So the calls that we hear about that are literally parents saying calling the college to complain that their son has too much homework to do over Thanksgiving or something, it's wild. And even worse, way worse than that. But
yeah.
So one of the things that I got from my Jenna Bush interview that I did last week was
how'd
that
that go?
it went fantastic. She was absolutely fantastic. Couldn't have been nicer. She's very tall.
Yep.
Which I didn't know. So I was very but one thing that she said that I super liked and I found very relatable, because this was sort of my experience being a parent as well, is she said that her parents would let her quit everything. It was if she was playing the piano, she'd be like, Mom, I want to quit piano. And Laura Bush would be like, good, because I don't want to listen to an amateur pianist in my house anymore. Or it'd be like, I want to quit the sport. And they're like, that's great. Now we have our weekends back. You know what I mean? So she's like, my parents letting me quit stuff, let me try other stuff. And they were not helicopter or whatever. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from an incredibly privileged person whose family are billionaires. So of course the kids are going to be fine and do whatever they want. But she talked about that in particular being a parenting thing that she's adopted because, it's just this idea of commitment for commitment's sake actually just makes kids more resistant. But it also shows a kind of parenting where the kid actually believes their child might be a professional dancer, even though there's no fucking chance of that being true.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm 5'3". I am short, but I'm not the shortest.
No,
Mel
I'm the
is.
shortest. I am the shortest.
She was probably 5'9", is what I would guess. But she was also wearing platform clog things. So she looked like she was basically 6 feet tall when she was standing next to me. It was very cute.
I live in a home where we have 5'7" through 5'9" women. And they're much younger than me, but I'm always staring up at them.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that documentary, the Rachel Nickell documentary on Netflix. And the idea that, first of all, the idea that a 2-year-old who's a witness to a crime would be able to identify anything is wild.
Yeah.
But also, a 2-year-old's view of the world is people's thighs. Like,
Yeah.
what does his face look like? I don't know. I'm
You know.
literally thigh level. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yep. Okay.
You are very tall, Dots. Very tall.
Wow. 5'10". That's super tall. That's like
Mhm.
almost a foot taller than me.
It's almost
All
Jalen Brunson's height.
right.
It's taller than Jose Alvarado.
Let's get the 2 shorter stories out of the way before we get into the Michael Proctor filing. I am fun size. I'm a fun size lesbian. Let's talk a little bit about Adam Montgomery. I don't want to go into too much detail. This is pretty short. I mean, this is an interesting thing that happened. So Adam Montgomery is the man from New Hampshire who was convicted of brutally schmurdering and dismembering his 5-year-old child, Harmony Montgomery.
5
and this
years
happened,
earlier.
Yeah, 5 years earlier. And so he is in prison for that and many other things associated with it. And late last week, the Supreme Court of New Hampshire overturned the Schmurder conviction, not the other charges. So he is still, just to be clear, he is still serving about 46 years in prison for all the other things that he did, to include
assault,
falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, and abuse of a corpse. So the reason why this was overturned, and this is really important, I think, because we have to talk about, even if a person is a monster, they are still
due process. They still have earned due process. But
they've earned due process in our legal system. And so the reason why his murder conviction was overturned is because of 2 sort of core issues, which are joinder and severance. So the first one is the trial court combined 2 very different incidents into a single trial. So there was a lot of evidence of an assault that happened in 2019 where a witness, Harmony's uncle, saw that she had a black eye, asked him about it. He said he, quote, bashed her around the house, end quote, because she had failed to watch her like months old little brother. She was only 5 years old at the time, by the way. And then the other one was the December 2019 schmurder, which he was accused of and convicted of brutally beating her to death in his car. The Montgomery defense had argued that these charges should have been split into 2 separate trials because the jury heard brutal details of the early assault and it tainted the jury, which was a great argument. And the Supreme Court agreed with them that basically tying the charges together violated Adam Montgomery's right to a fair trial. And that the evidence was disproportionate. The 2019 incident had lots of evidence. The actual schmurder in 2019, which was 6 months later after the first assault, did not have a ton of evidence. The only evidence against Adam Montgomery was the testimony of his then wife. What was her name? Kayla?
I think so.
Kayla Montgomery, who was in the car and who had also, she said also he had also abused her. So there was this sort of the Supreme Court thought there was this sort of high risk of impermissible evidence. The evidence from the July assault was so strong that there was a huge risk that the jury would think, well, he brutally beat her up 6 months prior. Why wouldn't he do the same thing in the car? Which is kind of a normal inference, but the law protects defendants from being convicted of a crime just because they have a history of bad behavior. So let's keep that part in mind. Yep. So the court said that the state failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the jury wasn't influenced. And what's going to happen next is that, again, Adam Montgomery is not free. He's got 43 plus years for the other charges. And the New Hampshire district attorney immediately said, which they are wont to do, that they plan to retry him on second-degree murder, and they will have to, in the second trial, if they decide to do this, they'll have to present the murder case completely separate from the first assault in 2019. I know you can't give us a lot of input, but do you have any?
I can give you some. I mean, so for folks who know, Adam Montgomery was Harmony's biological father, and Kayla was her stepmother. And her mother, her biological mother, Crystal, this is a very troubled family.
Yeah.
And the huge failing in this story is the New Hampshire Child Protective Agencies. A huge, huge failing.
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
But Judge Erskine, who is often on Defense Diaries and what's the other one?
She worked on the case.
She not only did she work on she was a family court judge. She did the adoption of Harmony's brother.
Yep.
To a gay couple, and they also wanted to adopt Harmony, but they had separated the kids into two different foster care situations, so she wasn't able to oversee that one. But she also was trying to get Harmony into their custody. Right. Unfortunately, the father, Adam Montgomery, got custody, but Judge Erskine also wrote a book about this. She's she's heavily involved in this case, so I would suggest going to look at her coverage and reading her book.
Yeah, and she has a lot of feelings about it, as one would. But she, so essentially the parents didn't, Crystal, the mother, didn't have a tremendous amount of contact with Harmony, but she wasn't brought for a planned visit for Thanksgiving, and then she realized she hadn't seen her for 2 years. Yeah. So she reported her missing 2 years after she was murdered.
Well, she had Facebook conversation. She had done like Facebook Messenger, like video calls with Harmony. But yeah, it was 2 years.
Yeah, they hadn't seen each other. So it's just an incredibly sad and horrible story. And it is huge failings of the child protective agencies in New Hampshire. Huge failings. And this happens everywhere. But in New Hampshire in particular, there are lots of issues with the care of children. We did a podcast at NHPR called Youth Development Center, which is about the Sununu Center, where troubled kids are sent, like kids who commit minor crimes were sent there. And there's there's more than 1,200 lawsuits about sexual abuse and violence at that place. And there have been some legal cases against some people who work there, but it's ongoing, allegedly. So it's really, really not good. Everything here is very underfunded. Starting in about 2012, there was a legislature that was taken over by a wave of Tea Party candidates, and they basically cut the state social services budget literally in half. Yep. And that funding has really never been restored. And so there's just a lot of systemic issues resulting from that. And you can pretty much directly trace Harmony's death to the state in many, many ways. All that being said, I think it's incredibly sad that this conviction was overturned. But the New Hampshire Supreme Court is a conservative court. The New Hampshire Supreme Court does not overturn murder convictions. There has never been an exoneration as the result of an overturned conviction in the state of New Hampshire, ever. New Hampshire believes every single person convicted of murder in the state is in fact guilty. And we know statistically that cannot be true. And I recommend listening to Bear Brook season 2 about the Jason Carroll case to learn more about that. But in this case, I wrote books about cases that went up to the Supreme Court in the aftermath of the cases, and the court has always rejected generally always rejects these appeals asking for specific convictions to be overturned because of tainted evidence or because of misconduct, or they just say that wouldn't have affected the outcome. In this case, the court decided it did affect the outcome. Mm-hmm. So I think that the state is going to try him again. It is hard to imagine he won't get convicted.
Right. And I think that's why the Supreme Court did what they did. I mean,
I think they did what they did because it was the right thing to do. I mean, honestly, I don't want his conviction to be overturned, but he deserves the same rights that you and I deserve, even though he's a horrific, awful, child murdering person.
I'm going to be a cynic here, though, and I want to believe that the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing, but I think that they are human beings, and more often than not, if they think that overturning a conviction will allow the person out of prison, I think that they're more apt to not overturn that conviction. I think that they felt this was a safe bet.
I agree.
to overturn this conviction because he's going to be in prison for it's the same thing with like Alec Murdaugh.
And
they were
Logan
like,
Clegg.
oh, I can get a win here.
Right.
Because he can't get out of prison and I can still do the right thing. Right. But they don't do the right thing when they should in other cases. And
that's an astute analysis. And one could argue that also happened in the Logan Clegg case where they overturned some of the evidence used in his trial, but not all. So it's not like they said he gets out. They just said this part of the trial was bad. So I understand. I saw Carol Erskine. She's really horrified about this, but she's also a judge. I'm sure that another part of her brain kind of understands that this stuff is also necessary for the preservation of our civil rights, even though sometimes those civil rights benefit really awful people. But, I'll be interested to see what happens next. It's not dissimilar. It reminded me a lot of the Corri Richins case, which I believe that Corri Richins is guilty of the murder. Mm-hmm. I think that they should never have been able to present that attempted murder charge at that trial. Yeah. There was zero evidence about it. And it was very prejudicial because it made the jury think likely, well, she tried it before. And this time she was successful. So exactly. I absolutely think that attempted murder conviction played a part in her conviction. And I don't think it should have been allowed in. I do think she should have been convicted, but I don't think that should have been allowed in.
And I know that we all love the judge in that case, but I went back and I was listening to the sentencing and his reasoning for sentencing. He relied heavily on that attempted murder in his sentencing. He relied heavily on that. Like, and you could almost hear the disdain in his voice, which he was really good to.
Oh, you could hear it. Not almost.
Yeah. But that's the thing. He was really good about being impartial, I thought, and like leaving that stuff out of his voice. And when he was doing the sentencing, he was relying heavily on that attempted murder charge. And I just was like, this doesn't seem right to me.
He's very literal, though. I mean, I think he's a really good judge in that once the jury decided, he accepted it as truth. Which, some judges will overturn a jury verdict if they think they got it wrong. Very, very rarely, but it does happen. Yeah. But he decided it was truth because the jury decided. I don't know. I'm giving that judge a lot of credit for how he ran that courtroom. Sure. But I still don't think that attempted murder thing should have been allowed in that case, even though I do believe she murdered her husband, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Although I can't really libel her for that because she was convicted of it. So
right.
I believe she murdered her husband.
I know you do. And I believe she probably did. That's my thought. Anything else on Adam Montgomery? You're expecting that they're going to try him again.
So someone says it's better to, okay, I call them conservative because they were all appointed by, in large part appointed by conservative governors. So they literally are conservative.
And they also call themselves conservative.
Yeah. And they've also upheld laws that many would call conservative. So they actually are literally conservative in that way. But they also
on
have
the Supreme Court.
But they are also hands off. Yeah, in New Hampshire, justices in the Supreme Court have an age out. I believe it's 75, but they are appointed by the governor, and they obviously have to go through their confirmation and all that stuff. But we actually had a big scandal involving a New Hampshire Supreme Court justice last year that was very exciting to cover. Yes, one of the Supreme Court justices, her husband was indicted for. It's still not clear, but he was like he was the head of the harbors in New Hampshire. He was like the official who was in head of all the harbor stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was indicted. He was being investigated for something, and we still don't know what it is. And I am dying to know what it is. If you knew the story, you would also be dying to know what it is, because he just reads as somebody who's like, it's almost like a mafia movie situation, like the way he sort of reads. I don't know. It's just my observations of the case. But he ended up being charged with trying to conceal evidence in that case for which he was being investigated. And somebody that I know was involved in it because he was trying to basically blackmail this guy into not letting out information about him because this guy was on the board of the port. Anyway, his wife was a Supreme Court justice and went to the governor and asked him to drop the charges, essentially. Asked him asked him questions about her husband's case, which you clearly cannot do. And the governor reported her, which is wild. Like Chris Sununu literally reported her.
Chris Sununu,
which I have so many mixed feelings about Chris Sununu as a human being, I'll tell you one thing about Chris Sununu that nobody can deny, whether you voted for him or not, whether you think he handled things well during the pandemic or not, whether you think he's a good for the state or not. I have very mixed feelings about that as a voter. I did actually vote for him a couple of times, in a couple of times that he ran, but like he is loved being the governor of the state of New Hampshire. He loved it. Yep. He was like a little boy, got to be governor, and he was so enthusiastic about
because his daddy was governor too.
Yeah, and his dad was also chief of staff for George Bush. Anyway, so there's scandals and stuff, but yes, this court does not overturn things lightly. So I believe there was probably a real procedural issue here. Probably a good thing that it was overturned, and he will probably be retried and likely be reconvicted. So,
got it. So, for those of you who have listened, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Sorry, I didn't mean to end it there.
No, we can move along. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited when my state is part of a story, you know.
Your state's part of a lot of stories because the justice system in New Hampshire is pretty fucked up.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Speaking of another state, Commonwealth actually, that is really messed up, is Pennsylvania.
Commonwealth?
Pennsylvania, yeah, it's a Commonwealth. Oh. Yep. So I did a long form series. It was an unplanned series on the In Between podcast. And it was, I'm calling it season 2 now because like I said, it was unplanned. It wasn't supposed to be season 2, but this case, Ellen Marsh told me about this case and I was like, okay, I have to figure out what's happening here. So I did like a 7 episode series on Veronica Rodriguez. We covered it here as well. Just the Cliff Notes version of it. Veronica was what am I trying to say? She was in the military. She had just joined the military and she accused an officer of SA. And I won't go into all the details of that, but the end result was instead of investigating the man that she had accused of SA, the local police and district attorney decided to investigate her because she recorded on the audio of her SA on her phone. And so instead of investigating him, they investigated her and they ended up charging her with a felony wiretap and false report of an SA. And I know what's on the tape. And I can tell you that it blows my mind that a jury heard this tape and voted to convict her. But they did convict her. She spent, I think it ended up being 3 weeks in prison or in jail. She could have spent up to 2 years. She is now on probation and her lawyers are appealing the conviction. And this article just came out from Penn Live. I think it was a couple days ago, the 12th of June. And there was a lot of crazy shit that happened in this case again. And a DA who was putting her thumb on the scale, in my opinion. Her name is Pierre Hesgraf. And she is the district attorney in this county. From what I hear, the ADA who tried Veronica's case, Amy, I can't think of what her last name is, has actually stepped down. But so basically, this is associated with Veronica's case, but it is not a part of her appeal. This actually stems from local journalists who got involved and joined the case, and basically were appealing a decision the judge made about sealing records and putting a gag order on this case. So the judge put a gag order on this case very early on and was like, nobody can talk to anybody about anything involved in this case. And Veronica was actually threatened. He was going to throw her in jail because she was talking to me. And the pod is not named in this article, but it is brought up. So the court actually ruled that there was no valid reason for Judge Charles, who was the judge who oversaw the case, to cut off public access to some records leading up to the high-profile trial against Veronica Rodriguez in May 2025, according to an opinion published by Superior Court Judge Brandon Newman Wednesday. And this is under a paywall, so I can't get into it. But Kim put this up. I'm going to leave the article up here, but I'm going to read some of what was said in the article. So the judge erred by sealing records in a case of a woman charged with falsely reporting rape. Veronica Rodriguez, convicted of making a false report, is led by deputies. That's the picture that was just on the screen. Where'd it go? So this picture is her being taken to jail after the sentencing. I was there for the sentencing, and it was insane what the judge had to say about why he was sentencing her to jail. And it was because the judge literally said, well, I won't say literally, I'll paraphrase what the judge said. The judge said,
I appreciate your use of the word literally, even though it means that now too, by the way.
Yeah, I know. The judge said, I'm sending you to jail because you could have ruined this man's life.
Mm-hmm.
The man was a doctor and an officer, and it sucks. Anyway, I did. If you want to go and if you haven't listened to the series, I would suggest going and listening to it. It's very interesting. It's pretty eye-opening. And in one of the episodes, I have about an hour and a half long conversation with the man that Veronica actually accused. And on tape, he literally, and I will say this because he actually literally said this on tape with me, he wasn't sure if he had her consent.
By the way, this is not just because he's in the Army. This is a very common problem. Watch the documentary Victim Suspect. We've talked about it on the show before. It is all about women getting charged for false reporting after reporting sexual assault. Yes. And it is stunning. It is one of my favorite documentaries of all time. It's a very, very, very common thing. There's a lot of discourse like, so Phil Mickelson, golfer, obviously I follow golf very closely. Thank you again, Amanda Planner, for my Masters Cup, was just kicked out of his longtime golf club that he has, his country club that he has belonged to for years and years and years, because a female employee accused him of touching her inappropriately. They reviewed the video, they took her complaint, and they kicked him out of the club immediately. And the one thing I think it's important for people to understand, it's as hard for Phil Mickelson to get kicked out of a country club as it is for a state trooper to get kicked off the police. Okay. It's just as extraordinary. There is, in my opinion, no way that there is not overwhelming evidence that he actually did this thing. And you still see women under news articles about this saying, well, I'm sure she's in it for the money. Well, proof or she didn't do it. Well, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the proof that you need, you already have, because country clubs, which are not known for, I don't know, kicking out professional golfers, much less excluding anybody who's not white and rich, literally kicked him out immediately. And so there's something there. We obviously don't know exactly what happened. He hasn't been charged. We haven't seen evidence publicly, but to immediately go to a place of suspicion of her is freaking wild to me. Absolutely wild. And that's just what happens with women over and over and over again. And that's why they don't come forward.
Yeah. And so in Victim Accused, which is also one of my favorite documentaries.
Victim Suspect.
Victim Suspect. Sorry, I was looking at the title of my episode. Victim Suspect. There is an expert. His name is Carl Hirschman. He is ex-law enforcement. He worked in the sex crimes unit. He is featured heavily in this documentary because he's a huge proponent of defending some of these women who have been charged with false accusations. Carl Hirschman was Veronica's expert in this case. So she wanted to bring him in. He had written a really amazing report. I interview and cover the report on the series I did about Veronica's case. The judge would not allow Carl Hirschman to take the stand as an expert, but he allowed Carl Hirschman's report to come in. So what does that tell you, Rebecca?
It tells you that he's like, he knows he can't block the information.
Right.
But he also doesn't want the guy in the stand because he's compelling. And that guy is compelling. Wasn't he a former cop?
Yeah, he's a former cop. He was in law enforcement forever.
And he does trainings for police officers about how to not do this. His whole thing now is training police departments to how to talk to SA victims and how to not then suspect them of making up the story leading to charges like that. That's what he teaches. He's incredible. He's really incredible.
He is incredible. And yeah, he teaches investigators how to investigate sexual assault allegations. And what he wrote in his report about the ridiculous police officers involved in this case is that they didn't do anything right. And that's why the judge didn't want him to take the stand, because it was a police chief. And keep in mind, the district attorney and the police chief in this county are women. And the district attorney, I think her record is 0. She's brought 0 sexual assault cases in her county. But she has accused and convicted a woman when a case was brought to her, Veronica Rodriguez. She's convicted her of felony wiretap. They were asking for 17 years for felony wiretap in this case. And the judge almost gave her 2 years.
Did the guy even go to the police and complain about being wiretapped, or did they just bring this charge as a result of her charges, of her complaints?
Exactly that one right there.
So it's not like he was like, hey, I was illegally recorded. Nope. It was a determination made by the prosecutors to charge her with this.
It was. Wow. And so the judge really put his finger on the scale in this case, in my opinion. Whoa. And so it wasn't just the Carl Hirschman of it all and not being allowed to have an expert on the stand. He also allowed, and this is part of Veronica's appeal, he also allowed the prosecutors to slut shame her on the stand, which there are rape shield laws in this country. You are not allowed to bring, this is what we were just talking about with Adam Montgomery. If you can't bring in an assault that happened 6 months prior to him allegedly beating his daughter to death, then you can't bring in ex-boyfriends of Veronica's going back to when she was 13 years old.
What is the Pennsylvania statute around shield laws?
Great question.
It varies state by state. Some states don't have the strong ones, and some states do.
Pennsylvania does.
This came into play in the Lindsey Marriott murder case, which I wrote about in one of our books. Look at me plugging the books, called Dark Heart, where there was evidence suppressed that many people believe, including me, could have related to her prior sexual predilections or prior sexual encounters or something. And her parents lobbied very, very, very hard to get that evidence suppressed. And and as often the case, victims' families have a direct line to the prosecution, and that was not allowed. And then that went all the way up to the New Hampshire Supreme Court, which did not allow that evidence to be, which did not overturn the conviction.
So the Pennsylvania Rape Shield Law, which is 18 PA-CS 3104, is a legal statute that strictly prohibits the defense in sexual misconduct cases from introducing evidence of or cross-examining an alleged victim about their past sexual conduct or predisposition.
The prosecution, not the defense.
Nope, the defense. The issue here is that...
Wait, say that again? It doesn't allow the what?
It's a legal statute that strictly prohibits the defense in sexual misconduct cases from introducing evidence of cross-examining an alleged victim about their past sexual conduct or predisposition. The issue here was this was not a sexual assault case. Right. This was a felony wiretap case. Right. And she was the defense in this case, but the prosecution is who brought in the past sexual whatever of her past, basically. So it doesn't necessarily affect this case, because it's usually used in a defense situation when someone has been accused of sexual assault and you were trying to defend against that.
Correct.
In this situation, this was not a sexual assault case. This was a wiretap case and a false accusation case. So the prosecution literally slut shamed her on the stand. She took the stand. Ex-boyfriends had to take the stand. Ex-boyfriends who spoke to me off the record and were talking to me about the fact that they didn't want to take the stand. They were forced to take the stand because they were subpoenaed, and they did not have the basically what the prosecution was pushing about Veronica and her past. They didn't have those experiences with her, but they couldn't get around it. And so the Supreme Court on Wednesday basically said that the judge erred when he ordered the 3 records in a highly contentious false rape report case sealed without explanation. So that's the other thing. He would just seal shit and he wouldn't tell anybody why. This was all on his own. He was doing this on his own. There was no valid reason for Judge Charles Jones to cut off public access to some records leading up to the high-profile trial against Veronica Rodriguez in May 2025, according to an opinion published by the Superior Court, blah, blah, blah. Rodriguez reported Dr. Fahad Pervez, an officer in the Air National Guard, had raped her following a date that involved potent drink, sexual topics, and later a recorded sexual encounter in his car. But prosecutors argued Rodriguez spoke in text messages about the encounter as if it were consensual until she was worried about getting in trouble over fraternization rules. That is not correct. As far as they convicted her of felony wiretapping, false report. The sealed documents in question contained a request to extend a gag order to include the court stenographer and its corresponding order, and a motion to admit certain evidence to the record for trial. And Wednesday's order found Jones abused his discretion as a judge by sealing the records without a hearing or explaining why, then once more by refusing to hear any arguments challenging the improper seals. The move violated reporters' right of access to public judicial documents under common law and the First Amendment. So basically, there were 2 or 3, I can't remember, don't quote me, 2 or 3 gag orders in this case at several different times. They got heavier with each order. And a lot of it was because Veronica was desperately trying to tell her story because it was already being told by the DA. So she was, this was a Karen Reed situation. She was trying to be like, no, that is not true. That is not true. That is not true. And I want everybody to keep in mind that when she was in this car with this man and recording him, the reason she started recording is because she felt unsafe and she had no way of getting out of this situation. Her phone had been taken from her. Her keys had been taken from her. Her glasses, which she needed to see, had been taken from her, and her wallet had been taken from her. And he had all of those things in the car, and the doors were locked, and they were in a remote rural area, and she had no way to get home. And I've driven out to this area. I visited it for the podcast. There's 8 miles of fields and woods between the places that they were that night. She had no way to get home, and it was freezing cold out. It was in the middle of winter. And so she recorded it because she knew it would be the only evidence of what might happen and what did happen. And because of that, she was convicted of felony wiretap because this district attorney refuses to bring sexual assault cases for some reason. And instead chooses to punish victims, in my opinion. So anyway, I would highly suggest you going to read the article that I have up on the screen.
We can link it to our show notes too. Send me the link and I'll do that.
Yeah, I will send you that. But yeah, it's on Penn Live. You do need to have it's behind a paywall, unfortunately.
It's okay. Folks
I am going to do.
I don't recommend doing this frequently, but you can put it through a paywall remover and get right through that paywall. Just Google paywall removers. There's one called paywall remover, and it's always option 3 that works. Just FYI.
I'm going to do.
I believe in paying for journalism, except when you're literally going to read one article from one outlet.
This delay is killing us today. I'm going to do an update episode on the In Between podcast, so you'll know what's going on. If you can't afford to pay for the paywall, I understand. And that's all I have on Veronica Rodriguez. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think your coverage of this case has been outstanding. I wish I could cover the Phil Mickelson case as deeply as you're covering this case.
Yeah, I mean,
it's clearly not as important, but
listen, this was before you and I started the show, and it was in between seasons, and I was in the process of reporting on or investigating on basically the opposite of Veronica's case, about the case that happened in Morgantown, West Virginia, which I'm hoping to release that in late summer. We'll see. If I do, it'll be through Grab Bag Collab, but I've been so busy and like just so much going on. Yeah, and also I'm really struggling with that case because it's investigating a serial rapist from the 80s and 90s who I believe there's potential that he is innocent, the guy that they put in prison. And so for me personally, I'm struggling with it. And it's really hard for me to investigate. It's really hard for me to talk to these victims, which I have been doing. And it's really difficult to think that a man who may not have done this has spent the past 30 years in prison for this crime, and that if he didn't do it, that means that there was a serial rapist out there, because the rapes didn't stop.
Loose. Yeah,
they didn't stop after he went to prison. So anyway, that's what I have going on. I have to
one other okay, go ahead. One other recommendation: watch the film Unbelievable on Netflix. It's scripted. It's incredible, and it's based on a true story. It's based on an article that was written about a young woman who was kind of troubled, who reported a sexual assault and was charged with. And it's so good. It's so good. And ultimately, it turns out that there was a serial predator on the loose. Now that Mel's gone, I'll just tell you one other thing about Phil Mickelson, which I know she has zero interest in. But Phil Mickelson was asked to leave his golf course mid-round. So not only did he immediately get kicked out, they took decisive action that day. Somebody drove out there for whatever hole he was on and said, "You got to go now," which, if you know anything about professional golf and the clout someone like Phil Mickelson has, is pretty wild. I want to thank again Amanda for sending me official Masters merchandise. Amanda, if you send me your Venmo, I really want to pay you for this stuff, but you're saying you're not going to let me. I also want to thank Cassie, who sent me something via Amazon. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm already using it. Thank you very, very much. Let's look at some comments. Let's see. I say, bye, Phil. Enjoy your Saudi live golf money. Yeah, the whole thing about the live thing with him that really pissed me off was that he was already very, very wealthy. Elite golfers are very, very wealthy. Somebody says they can't imagine the toll reporting these cases takes on Mel. It's true. She is the most empathetic and sensitive person I know, in a good way. Not that people with empathy are bad. When I say sensitive, I mean that she's sensitive in all the right ways. And she definitely onboards the emotion and grief around these things. Immediate removal is very telling. Is it not? Is it not? I mean, think about all the times Tiger Woods has been arrested, and like the sort of slowness of the investigation to release some detail around that stuff. And he literally like crashed his car and et cetera. And in one incident, he almost died and then came back and won the Masters, which was incredible. Anyway, internalized misogyny is not a surprise in the system we lived in. It is not. When I see women questioning these things more than men, it makes me crazy. It makes me absolutely crazy. And we're not saying there's a 0% false report or mistaken report percentage, but it's much closer to 100 than it is to 0. Unbelievable was so effing good. It sure was. It's got Toni Collette and who was the other actor that I super like? She was also in Severance. Let's see. Merritt Weaver. So good. So good.
Hi, I'm back.
Are we it's a time for Proctorgate.
Oh, I had to go to the bathroom and get a new Diet Coke for this.
I was so bummed I didn't win the members only guest spots as Coffee and Case Files. I cover true crime on Insta and I have a case I'm hyper fixated on. Hey, send us an email. Send us an email to somethingsoffpod@gmail.com. We're a little bit behind on our email because I've been away. I was away this weekend. Last week was insane, but we've gotten a couple of really good emails. We have read them. We are discussing them. We just haven't had a chance to have a meaningful conversation between the two of us in like 2.5 weeks because we've been busy.
The email overwhelms me. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate everybody that writes to us, but sometimes we get really long, sometimes very personal emails, and I have a really hard time absorbing it.
Because as I said when you were gone, you are made of empathy and you are incredibly sensitive in a good way.
Oh, well, I appreciate you saying that.
About qualities. I mean, you're empathetic and sensitive in all the ways a person should aspire to be. But yeah, that means that you onboard the trauma, the grief, the personal stuff in a way that like I'm a little crustier. I do less. We both deal with our personal trauma in different ways.
Yes.
Mel is empathetic and all that stuff. And I am just like Everything is fucking fine. That's me. The story behind my Lego car, somebody just asked. I have 2 VWs and a Mini Cooper behind me. These are essentially just very expensive Lego sets that I bought for my children so they could assemble so that I could display them. I also have the typewriter that works. So sometimes for Christmas, I get them a Lego set for themselves, but sometimes I'll buy myself a Lego set and I'll be like, while you're home for Christmas, can you please assemble this for me? And I love these cars because for my birthday, when I turned 50, my son, we were away, came over and installed aftermarket lights inside the car so that when they're on our timer, so that when the lights go off in the house, or when it gets dark out, the lights come on inside the cars. I love them so much. All right. Proctor.
Oh boy. I got to take a deep breath for this one. You guys.
We can keep it tight. I mean, this has been covered extensively. We can just talk about the things that stick out to us. I don't think we need to go over the whole thing. It's more of the same with another person implicated by name, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Who are the other cops on his phone? That's the only thing I want to know.
Okay, so very briefly, this is not the Karen Reed case. This is the Miles King case. And this is a filing that Rosemary Scapicchio, who is Miles King's attorney, she's a queen, honestly. She's been fighting so hard to get these files out into the light of day because it really does show how racist some of these cops are acting in Massachusetts. And it's been under seal. I will never understand why it was sealed.
It's sort of this like very conservative, not in the political way, approach to not putting out information about non-parties in cases, except he is a party. Well, he's not a party. I mean, he's not the one being prosecuted, but he was the cop who investigated it. And there's just like a real slow walk of all this stuff when it comes to institutions. Institutions protect themselves, man. We should mention that there's extensive evidence that Miles King actually is the perpetrator in the crime that he's accused of. He was also indicted by the feds after being released because Rosemary got him out for drug trafficking and other related crimes associated with a big investigation into Boston-based gangs. But like everybody else, Miles King deserves the best defense he possibly can get and has the same civil rights as everyone. And if you are a Black defendant in the state and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who Michael Proctor touched your case in any way, shape, or form, which is why we need to know who all the other cops are on these threads, you probably should have your conviction taken a look at, whether you're innocent or not. Of course, the innocent people should do that immediately, but people who are not should still get it looked at. And Rosemary has done some incredible work exposing corruption through her defense of this man.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to say. We should also keep in mind that though it appears that Miles King probably did this, he sat in prison. He sat in jail for 4 years.
Yes.
Because his bail was revoked. Yes. And because Adam Lally, the ADA in Norfolk County, and Michael Proctor were slow walking discovery.
Yep.
So this man, though he may be guilty, should not have sat in prison for 4 years awaiting a trial. We do have we have a speedy trial in this country. You have the right to a speedy and fair trial in this country. Sitting in jail for 4 years waiting for your trial is not speedy, nor is it fair. And so Rosemary did her due diligence. She worked really hard to get him out after sitting in, so he could be out while awaiting, because it's not about him having freedom. It's about him being able to work with his attorneys. It's really difficult for an attorney to put together a case and work with their client when they're in jail. You have to do very specific schedules. You have to meet in certain areas, and there are a lot of restrictions. And think about with like the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, one of the things that Mark Bradel, what's Bradel's first name?
Tim,
thanks. One of the things that Tim Bradel was really pushing for in trying to get Kelsey out was that they needed to be able, or not to get Kelsey out, but for Kelsey to not be shackled to her house under house arrest, is that she needed to be able to take herself to his office so they could put together a case. Miles King sat in prison or jail for 4 years while Rosemary Scapicchio tried to put together a case.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair. So he finally was allowed out. Unfortunately, he was then picked up by the feds. Unfortunately for him, not for anybody else.
Right. So somebody asked if he was guilty, why select discovery take 4 years? Because that's how they work.
Yeah.
That's how this department works and always has worked. And it hasn't been a problem for them thus far. So why wouldn't they? That's the question. Like, why wouldn't they? We know, like, Lally became a witness in one of the hearings related to this case, and it was wild. Rosemary put him on the stand and was like, what do you do when a cop doesn't send you a warrant? And he was like, I emailed him. Well, what do you do when he then doesn't send it to you? Well, I do everything. What's the process? I don't have one. It was completely wild. And, the Sixth Amendment does, by the way, yes, guarantee you a right to a fair and speedy trial, but also you have the presumption of innocence. So, putting people, there's also a lot of data that shows that people who are incarcerated before their trials are far more likely to be convicted than those who are not. Because because there's a very strong jury perception that if you are incarcerated, you are guilty. So it's a bad regular practice, and people just can't afford to. A lot of times they get bail and they can't afford to pay it, or they get bail but they can pay that but not their fees, and the fees are what's holding them back. There's a million reasons why people continue to be incarcerated after they've been arrested, and it's generally speaking very bad.
Let me show you just a little bit of Rosemary Scapicchio questioning Lally, because it's amazing.
It's the best.
This is TikTok, so take that with a grain of salt.
Sure. Adam Lally, ADAM, last name Lally.
And what do you do for a living, Mr. Lally?
Assistant District Attorney with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office.
And how long have you worked for the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office?
Since 2005.
20 years?
Yes, almost.
What did you do before you worked for the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office?
Started with the District Attorney's Office straight out of law school. Worked a couple warehouse jobs, things like that during. I worked a few warehouse jobs, things like that during law school. Went to school at night.
Okay. And what school did you go to?
Suffolk.
Suffolk Law?
Suffolk.
Yes.
And undergrad?
Undergrad, I went to the University of Southern California.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to look on page 5.
A good education.
And tell me, read that, the bottom of page 5 to yourself and the top of page 6. These lists remain in the file? Your lists with the check marks remain in the file?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. And have you reviewed any of them before you testified here today?
No.
Okay. Is there a reason you didn't review the file before you testified here today?
I don't have the file.
What?
You work for the DA's office, right?
I do.
And it's in the DA's office, right?
Wow.
Yes.
And you knew you were going to be asked questions about this case, right?
Are you embarrassed, Rebecca?
Yes.
And you didn't do anything to educate yourself about what you did initially on the case?
Objection. This is her witness. Well, I'm not sure I agree with that as an objection, but I'm going to sustain the objection as to the relevance. He did not review the file. Next question.
So what did you review in preparation for your testimony here
Get
today?
him, Rosemary.
I reviewed portions of the file. I reviewed
Can you pause for a second?
Some of the items that have been.
Unlike other videos, I could watch this forever.
Forever.
Yeah. This is great. Keep going. Sorry. I just want to say I'm not embarrassed, like turn it off. I'm embarrassed for him. And
These
for
are
all
just
of us.
clips. So it's only like 4 minutes. So I want to watch
good.
the whole
It's good.
Yeah.
I love the edit. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And produced by ADA Hickman. I reviewed search warrants. I reviewed police reports. I reviewed, you were asking specifically as far as checklists or notations. I didn't review those, but I did review, I have portions of the file. I have access to the file, and I did review portions of the file.
That's not what you said.
See that you sought information for in this case.
Certainly.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Who's that?
He's doing the sighing thing.
Be the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, be the State Police Crime Lab. There were some items that were outsourced to Bodie Technology Lab in Lorton, Virginia, where they did some additional forensic testing pursuant to DNA. They have different methods that our lab does not. Milton Fire Department, I believe Fallon paramedics were involved in the transport of the victim, Mr. Simmons. That's all I can think of at this point.
Okay. And would you communicate? And so when did you ask Trooper Proctor for the search warrant?
Here we go.
In July or August of 2021 when they were filed for.
Okay. And when did you get all 6 search warrants from Trooper Proctor?
I didn't get all 6 search warrants from Trooper Proctor.
What?
You did not?
I did not.
Okay. Then I guess I'm confused about how your system works. You said you had a system where if you asked for something and you didn't get it, you would then follow up with the police officer asking again and again. Did you do that with Trooper Proctor in this case with the 6 search warrants?
Yes, I believe so.
How many times did you email Trooper Proctor asking for the 6 search warrants?
I don't know.
More than 10?
I don't believe so, no.
And you put returns or information that had been returned in front of the grand jury on search warrants you had never seen.
So with
Answer that
the,
question.
Yes.
and I'm trying to, so
Okay.
with regard, follow up again.
When you say follow up, do you send another email or do you get in your car and drive down there and say,
You get in
we
your
got to
car.
end this, give me this stuff?
Get in your car.
Email or a phone call.
Okay. It happened to you before, Attorney Lally, and you didn't go to Lynn Beelan, who was your supervisor, and ask her what to do. What was your plan? How were you going to solve it?
I don't recall specifically having a plan. If there were a situation where I was asking a trooper or
Are you asking again for the search warrant, so you still
Oh,
don't
we've
have?
been over this time period. I'm trying to figure out you went all the way through
All right, you get the
arraignment.
idea.
It's the best. So wait, you
I didn't
you
have a plan.
presented something where you didn't have the warrants?
I didn't have a plan. Okay, so I think a common misconception about Adam Lally is that he is dumb and lazy. I think he uses that as an excuse because he's actually pretty crafty. I
He
think
went to 2 really good schools. He's not stupid.
I think that he and the reason why I think that is because of this filing that Scapicchio made. I'm going to pull it up. And I want to get to this highlighted part. Let me see.
Someone give Lally his emotional support paper clips. Romy and Ma, love you very much. I mean, I contend that all of this is because it's always worked. So why would you do it differently? I just
Yeah.
imagine that if he went and became a defense attorney, all of a sudden he had to do a lot of work. It would be like, oh no, I have so much work to do.
I'm going to take this out of order here. And this is in the cases cited section, I think it is.
More Lally. Everyone wants more Lally. More Lally. More
I mean,
Lally.
I am happy to. I will do that entire hearing if you guys want me to, and if you want to do it with me, Rebecca, we can do it for a cross roast.
I'll do it with you. I'll do it on an open stream. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But with Lally, I think that he did a couple of things. Why can't I find this? Where did it go? Sorry. He did a couple of things as it pertains to the Miles King case, where you can see how his cunning, you know what I mean? And I think that it's a little terrifying because one of the things that he did was, hold on, let me find this one word, reinstate. Okay, here it is. I'm going to share this. This is the filing that Rosemary, this is the one that has all the horrific Michael Proctor text in it. I'm skipping a little bit ahead here. This is it says, you guys can see that on the screen. Yeah.
Mhm.
In evaluating the need for remedial sanctions in addition to the discovery violations in the King case, ADA Lally has been accused of failing to disclose exculpatory evidence in Commonwealth versus Reed, docket, blah, 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 and in Commonwealth versus Carlo Thomas. In both cases, this is so fascinating to me, Rebecca. In both cases, ADA Lally was the prosecutor. On information and belief in Reed, at a minimum, ADA Lally failed to disclose exculpatory Sallyport video. We know that, right?
True.
This is the crazy one, in my opinion. Let's take the comment off for a second.
Sorry, I put it up there.
On information and belief in Thomas, ADA Lally failed to disclose the fact that a police officer who had appeared before the grand jury as the arresting officer was fired from his job prior to his grand jury testimony. ADA Lally secured a letter from the chief of police temporarily reinstating the officer for the limited purpose of his grand jury appearance. Then the Commonwealth elicited testimony from the officer about his position as a police officer and his duties and responsibilities as a police officer.
Ooh,
Let
he
that
should be
sink in.
arrested. He should
Let
be
that-
arrested for that.
Let it sink in for a minute.
Wild.
He
Lally.
he pulled some shady ass shit for the Thomas case. He had an officer reinstated after firing for misconduct so that the grand jury wouldn't know he was fired / wasn't credible. And Lally got the police chief to temporarily reinstate this guy so he could come in front of the grand jury. That is shady as fuck.
That's like the kind of thing that would happen in a movie that would get uncovered in a climactic scene in the movie. It's like, it's so bad. That is so bad.
Yeah.
What is he? By the way, did you see that Karen Reed showed up at Deitch's campaign headquarters opening?
I did.
Like, do you think Deitch would happily keep Lally employed if he's elected?
No, but I'm saying that it's not just Lally.
Oh, I know. This is what they do.
The other ADAs and Michael Morrissey had to have known that this was happening.
Of course they did. This is how they all work.
So they should be resigning in disgrace today,
in
my opinion. Okay. So basically this filing, I'm sure that most of you have watched these in-depth, deep dives on the filing where lawyers, actual lawyers, like Melanie Little and the Defense Diaries, the Matas, go through this and break it down for you. These are just going to be our, takes on this. But one of the first things that popped up for me is, well, first of all, this entire thing can be summarized this filing can be summarized by saying you cannot separate the investigator, Michael Proctor, from the investigation, which is he tried to do that in Karen Reed. He himself tried to do that in Karen Reed.
Yes.
Yuri Buchanan tried to do it in Karen Reed, and you can't, but you can't do it. And you especially can't do it here because Miles King is a black man and he is being investigated for murder. And Michael Proctor is the lead investigator. And based on several of these really heinous, horrific text messages and communications between Michael Proctor and several other police officers and friends. I'm just going to put a few of them up on the screen. They're really awful. Rosemary Scapicchio was really particular in picking out the messages that she used. She said this was just, they have a memory drive, a memory stick that has gigabytes, maybe terabytes of information on it. This is just a smattering that are mostly racial.
I know, because this weekend, I have to say this very carefully.
Yeah.
We, for the second time in the last couple of years, talked to a guy who is very highly placed within the Massachusetts State Police.
Oh. Okay.
And has, let's just say, has adjacency to this, this phone stuff. Like he's not, but he has adjacency is a very generous way of saying he's deeply connected to the phone extraction of Michael Proctor. Okay. And the characterization that we received there's also a lot of just very stupid juvenile shit on there. In addition to all this, there's also a lot of different stuff that we have not yet seen. All of it sounds, though, like a man who truly hates working for the community, truly hates, just from the characterization of the other stuff I saw, hates Black people, hates Jewish people, hates women, hates working in the community for the community, period. Like,
yes.
And that's my interpretation of everything I've seen and heard. But like the new stuff I heard about that isn't public, it all points to the same. This is somebody who is completely personally not suited for a job working with the public in any capacity, much less working for a job that is supposed to be protecting and serving the community.
And for those of you who are shocked that this kind of racism is so fervent, I don't know what other word, like this kind of racism is the ease of this racism, and the as much racism as we're seeing in this. If for those of you who are shocked that this is happening in New England, don't be. I would say that Massachusetts in general, New Hampshire, Maine are some of the most racist places I've ever lived. And I've lived in the deep South. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in California. I've lived in New York, and I've lived in New England. I would say that outside of the Klan marching in North Carolina when I lived there, Boston is one of the most racist places I've ever lived. And I grew up with this racism. I heard people in my family saying these things. So it's not shocking or surprising to me to see. I mean, this guy, how old is Michael Proctor? He's a millennial, right?
Yeah. And nor is it shocking and surprising to literally any person of color in the state of Massachusetts or anywhere.
No.
At a police
But I
offense
have
officer
been
is
hearing some content creators on YouTube being completely shocked that this is happening in Boston, and they shouldn't be. I would say this is probably more common than we think it is. And I think that if they are able to, like the how to fix a drug scandal.
Yes.
The documentary by Aaron Lee Carr about the drug lab that was responsible for submitting evidence to the courts about drug testing, DNA, yada, yada, and how they just basically were fudging all of
making it all up.
They were making it all up. Some of them were high on the drugs themselves and were making it all up. If they decide to do an in-depth analysis or investigation the way they did for that about racism in law enforcement in Massachusetts, I think the entire system is going to come down. And I think that's why these judges are protecting some of these people. I think that's why some of the district attorneys are protecting some of these people. And I think that's what Bev was afraid of in trial 1 and trial 2, was that they have to protect law enforcement, because if they allow people to see how law enforcement actually acts on a daily basis, the whole system's going to come down, or there's going to be riots in the streets, or both. And so, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That was it.
I just want to say, for those who aren't familiar with the drug scandal, this was a failure. 2003, I want to get the dates right. 2013, 2 state chemists, Annie Dukin and Sonia Farrak, admitted to falsifying drug tests and tampering with evidence, and their misconduct led to the dismissal of approximately 61,000 drug charges in 35,000 cases. Yeah. It's just, it was a very, very, very big story, but also kind of went through its cycle fairly quickly. Like, this is the whole thing, is that police departments are very, very good at, and you notice these 2 women are named here. Like, does anybody really think that these 2 women worked in a complete vacuum at this institution that is responsible for convicting people across the state? But it's usually like the workers who get, thrown under the bus or whatever. And like the institution and the structure of the institution that allows it. This is true. The Boston Police Department was so racist that it operated under consent decree for 50 years. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Boston is well known as one of the most racist cities in the United States. Athletes will say that when they come and play in Boston. The crowd is unlike any other crowd they have to face. And there's this whole culture of, we can't be racist because we're diverse and we're a city and we're in the North. And to me, that can make it so much worse, because the sanctimony around it. Oh, we have a mayor who's a person of color. We have we have a lesbian who's a governor. We have a black commissioner of the Boston Police Department. It makes it worse, because it's basically a bunch of people fooling themselves that this isn't happening when it is happening, and it can foment and get worse because it is pushed down and made invisible by people in power.
Yeah. And I wanted to add 2 things to this. Kathleen says, how do you think BLM feel about all these messages from Proctor? Surprised they're not rioting now. I think BLM is probably really upset, but they're also very much like, see, we told you so. And the idea that BLM is being categorized as a terrorist organization just feeds into our judicial system covering for these assholes, and our government covering, our local government and our national government covering for these assholes. Because I think that there's the idea that if they actually let this information out, like I said, that people are going to riot in the streets. And they're not wrong. And they have reason to riot because this systemic racism that's happened in this country. Some of these comments, like when I read some of the comments that Michael Proctor and his friends are saying back and forth to each other, for instance, this is so awful. Okay. I just want to, so there were images also in the phone. This is really difficult to look at, but this is a little
hilarious images that they were like lolling over.
This is a little black child in what looks like a bird cage being held there by two young white children. There is, you can't see this one, but I've seen it. It's a little black baby sitting in a toilet, and it says, if it's brown, flush it down. That one, obviously self-explanatory. Why don't black people get sunburned? Because prisons are indoors. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, because in some of these text messages, what they're talking about is basically they're categorizing black people as being lawless, and the prisons are filled with black people. The prisons are filled with black people because of cops like Michael Proctor,
and because of a system that that makes it completely uneven for black people and white people.
It is cyclical.
Jim Crow.
Yes.
Read the new Jim Crow. Great book.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea that they're sitting there being like, oh, why don't black people get sunburned? It's because there's no sunlight in prison. You put those people there. You created, like, the quote that I just had. It says, Pendy, I haven't shot anyone, but I did pull an N-word over today for tossing a cigarette out the window. He wouldn't have done that. The context here is that he wouldn't have done that to a white person, right? And so the reason why the prisons are full of black people is because of you, Michael Proctor. You created the problem.
The glee with which you do it is like, I mean, there's a glee. I mean, so yeah. I always have a question about this, because we talk about this a lot on Crime Writers On. We talk about institutions protecting themselves. And sometimes it's like, it's like, why are there so many abusers in some, like, just name any institution, the church, the Boy Scouts. Let's call the Boy Scouts. It's a huge, like, largest child SA scandal in the country right now is with Boy Scouts, right? So why are there so many abusers in the Boy Scouts? Because abusers are attracted to the Boy Scouts. Why are there so many, it's like people are attracted, especially predators of any stripes, are attracted to jobs and communities where prey is easier and they have more access to it.
Catholic Church.
This is why the Catholic Church is a wonderful example. Sort of, and if you look in the Boston, the patterns are the same everywhere, but in Boston, it was very much like taking marginalized, poor white kids and giving them, quote, like structure and father figures and sort of preying on them in that way. The Explorers program, another great example. So people are attracted to communities and jobs that give them access to prey. Predators are. This is the problem with one of the many problems with policing in the United States. Look at who would be attracted to that job. Now, I know many police officers. I'm a police, I come from a police family. I used to have a picture behind me of my grandfather, who was a police officer in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. Yeah. People are always like, you wouldn't feel this way if you had cops in your family. Oh, I do, my friend, have cops in my family. I also have military. I have my bank accounts are with USAA. Let me just leave it that way. But people, a huge problem with policing is that people who are attracted to these positions are attracted to them for a reason. Not everybody, of course, but I shouldn't have to say that, but I think that goes without saying. But like Proctor wanted to be a Boston cop. Now think about it. This is a racist guy, an openly racist guy. Racist with it. Like somehow he finds other people that he's very comfortable throwing the N-word around with. Openly racist guy.
It's the ease of the racism. Yes.
His aspiration is to police in a diverse community.
Yes.
This is somebody who doesn't, despite what he says, doesn't not want to interact with Black people. He wants to so that he can subjugate them. He wants to. Did he have
Yeah.
to pull over that black man for throwing a cigarette out of his car? Absolutely not. How many people has he seen throw apple cores or cigarettes out of their car and not pull them over? Probably hundreds. He didn't have to do it. He wanted to. And that's
Yes.
what is so disturbing about it.
Yep. The interesting thing about this filing too, is that we got examples of text. So in the last filing, we saw messages from Sean Good and Michael Proctor. In this filing, we see examples of text that Proctor received from members of the WhatsApp group. And so there are people in this these exchanges named Kevin Foley, a nickname Fargo, a person named Larry Kennedy.
Such common Irish fucking names. It's like John
know, right?
Smith in the colonial America.
Someone named Trendy. And so, but the name Kevin Foley did stick out to me though.
Yes.
And I feel like I had heard it before. I know that Aiden did a stream last night where he broke down a Kevin Foley that worked in Canton, right? He was a Canton cop.
Former Canton cop. And Rosemary Scapicchio does say in this filing that at the time of this person texting Proctor these messages, they were a cop. She specifically says that. So we know that Kevin Foley was a cop. People are pointing to this guy, and we should say, this has not been confirmed, but the assertion out there that is likely to be true. Kevin Foley is a former Canton cop who I believe was fired and then went on to, I think he worked in CrossFit, one of my least favorite organizations in the world. So many assholes come out of the CrossFit sphere. No offense to any of you who do it. I'm sure you're fine people who just joined a gym. Yeah. But there are so many insane CrossFit people. It's like horse people. Okay. It's just known. Yeah. But then also he went to coach football at Bridgewater State University, otherwise known as
Colin Albert's University.
Is that where he went? Bridgewater State, Colin Albert?
I believe so. Yeah. To play football, maybe. I don't know. Okay. So Grant, I just wanted to put this tweet up because Grant Smith Ellis had also spoken about this.
Played for the BSU Bears.
It was Grant and Aiden and Scapicchio who brought up Kevin Foley in the filing. Kevin Foley, it sounds like, was a Canton cop. And it says that Kevin Foley involved in sending racist messages with Michael Proctor may actually be a former Canton police officer arrested in 2013 in a sex for hire sting, who shockingly held a fundraiser for John O'Keefe's orphaned niece and nephew in 2014 alongside Kevin Albert.
Yep.
If this is confirmed and a former Milton police officer by the same name is ruled out, it changes everything. This would provide a direct link via Kevin Foley between Michael Proctor, Kevin Albert, and John O'Keefe's niece and nephew going back to 2014. This connection and Proctor's abhorrent messages with a number of police officers were never revealed during either of Karen Reed's two trials. And if confirmed, this link would present a shocking series of cover-ups related to Proctor's conflict of interest when investigating John's death on the home of Kevin Albert brothers' lawn, Brian Albert, on the early morning of January 29th. It was only in 2025, after an order from Judge Doolin in the Miles King case requested by lawyer Rosemary Scapicchio, that this data was eventually turned over, albeit under a protective order that was granted over Scapicchio's objections. Late Friday, Scapicchio was able to release another wave of Proctor messages via newly unsealed motion to dismiss in the King case. King, for his part, is currently in federal prison over new charges. The first wave of these messages were released, yada, yada. So anyway, go and read Grant's tweet. It's very informative and interesting. But what it reveals to me is that Kevin Foley was a Canton cop.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that more than likely, many of the other people that Michael Proctor was communicating all these racist and, quite frankly, beyond racist into white supremacists language, were probably also other cops. Like this person here on the bottom of this page, which we don't know who said this, but it says #die N-word day. And then we already went through these photographs. We don't need to go through it again. Okay. So this is as it pertains to the Miles King case. Michael Proctor authored all 6 search warrants. These are the search warrants that Adam Lally couldn't get from Michael Proctor for 4 years. This is part of what that hearing was that we just watched. She was trying to get access to search warrants. Those
Remind you of
should
anything? It's just the Karen Reed case over and over
Oh,
again.
yeah.
It's the same thing
Yeah.
every fucking case. This was not unique
Yeah.
to this case. The drib drabs of discovery,
Yep.
the slow walking, the
Yep.
use, the sort of abuse of the courts to
That's why
and the courts become immune to it, so they start accepting it because that's just the way it is
Yes.
here in this fucked up county.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think that Adam Lally is dumb and lazy. I think he's smarter than everyone's giving him credit for.
I agree.
So Proctor authored all 6 search warrants in King's case, coordinated video canvases, reviewed video evidence. Colleen Crawford, I'm looking at you. Directed other investigators in King's case to obtain Simmons' property from BMC and went to BMC himself to try to obtain the property. This is the stuff she's been asking for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the witnesses Proctor interviewed in the case. I'm not going to read all their names. I don't want to put all that out there again. And then on September 2nd, 2021, Proctor received a picture from Kevin Foley in his WhatsApp that said, quote, going from Cam Newton to Mac Jones is like driving through Mattapan Square and entering Milton, end quote, to which Proctor responded, quote, that's great, end quote, and accurate, end quote. Those were
Yes, we're talking about going from a black quarterback to a white quarterback, and I did watch a little bit of Aiden's stream, and as he pointed out, that was before Mac had any field time. So it's not like you can't even say, well, he's just talking about him being a better quarterback. No. Any opportunity to say this is something that they weren't even talking. That's what's so wild to me is that like. These are that one is apropos of nothing. Like it's like if they're talking about football, talking about whatever. Like let's inject some. What can we inject some racism into today? Let's figure out a way to do it.
Yeah,
incredible.
Proctor was on the scene immediately after the homicide. He interviewed witnesses, collected evidence, reviewed video footage, authored all 6 of the search warrants, and testified at the grand jury in the King case. In other words, Proctor had a hand in and guided the entire investigation. I think what's really important to me in what I've just highlighted here and what I just said out loud is that Proctor was on the scene immediately after a homicide.
Yep.
I wonder why he wasn't on the scene immediately after a homicide at 34 Fairview.
Because it had to be, they had to recuse themselves before they called in the state police because it was initially a Canton matter. But then they realized, well, I'm just telling you what they would say is that
as soon as he was assigned to the case, he did not go there. He didn't go there for what, 3 days?
I don't remember. I don't want to say that for sure because I don't remember. I thought it was that night.
3 days.
But
Proctor did all of this while holding the beliefs that Black people should, quote, and be enslaved, and that Black people are, quote unquote, animals, and that they should be killed. Cool.
I mean, it's like, you know how they always say saying the quiet part out loud? They're screaming the non-quiet part as loudly as possible.
Yeah. And there's also quotes like this that take this from racism and put it into white supremacy.
Some would argue that racism against Black people is based on white supremacy. Some would argue that.
I mean, that's what
you're saying. You're saying that super injects it with turbo power.
Oh yeah, sure. He says, quote, ha ha ha, Cookie, let's get some horses and white sheets and burn a cross in the Arboretum, end quote. Tipped in his racial bias and hatred for Black and brown defendants, Proctor investigated King, a Black man, while holding the belief that all Black people commit crimes, that Black and brown people are not human, that they are, quote unquote, N-words, and deserving of punishment no matter the cost. Proctor believed that locking up N-words made the community at large safer. These racist views infected the entire investigation. This was not a search for the truth. It was a modern-day lynching in which inflicting pain and securing the confinement of Black and brown people, whom Proctor referred to as quote-unquote shines, quote-unquote N-words, quote-unquote poo, and quote-unquote poo people, was not just accepted but celebrated. The same could be argued for the Karen Reed case, that Proctor's hatred of women and other things, made it.
Oh,
go ahead.
I think my dog just fell off his couch. Can you give me a second?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go check on him. Stewie. I think it can be, said that in the Karen Reed case, he hated women and he sexualized women and he made jokes about graping women. He made jokes about graping women while they were sleeping or inebriated, intoxicated. I can't see what Rebecca's doing back there. Can anybody see? Hold on, let me make the screen bigger. Hopefully everything's okay with Stewie. What is she doing back there? I hope she's okay. Oh, she's coming back, I think. Anyway, yeah, this guy he should have been nowhere near a badge or a gun. I'll just say that. He shouldn't have been anywhere near a badge or a gun, and he shouldn't have been policing his own community. Is he okay? Stuart, is he okay?
He's fine. No, he's fine. What it was a giant Monstera plant fell off of its table onto him on his couch.
Oh no, buddy.
He's fine.
Okay.
I mean, every morning I wake up and I'm like, are you alive? But other than that, he's fine because he sleeps. This morning I had to go pick him up to bring him outside to take him for a walk because he was sleeping so hard.
Bubba. So I was just talking about how Proctor's racist views infected the entire investigation. And I think his sexist and misogynist views infected the entire Karen Reed investigation.
Of course. There's also a confidence he has about just being right about everything. He's so confident about it. So it's like if he thinks...
Well, he's white. He's a white man.
I mean, I think that he either thinks or definitely thought that Karen Reed did it. And I mean, I really do. So he's right. So let's just make it so that the world sees that I'm right by doing a bunch of shady fucking shit.
Yeah. Well, he's a white man. He's...
one thing that Aiden said, somebody, a commenter on Aiden's stream said that really struck me was, do you think that Albert and Proctor ever discussed the taillight? Because Albert knows that she didn't hit him. Proctor is suddenly finding a bunch of taillight on their lawn. So Albert knows the taillight's planted because he knows that because he knows that he wasn't hit by a car. Yep. So do you think they were ever like, nice job? It's like, nice job with the taillight, dude.
Good job. Pro show. I mean, if they didn't do it, they probably didn't do it on they probably did it on their personal phones. Or maybe, the thing is these guys talk on the phone like old gossiping grandmas quite a bit. So, who knows? Rosemary Scapicchio goes on to say, if the celebration of the killing of Black and brown people, reference to Black and brown people as objects, quote unquote, with the goal of making the white community safer by locking up Black and brown people is not, quote, shocking, outrageous, or clearly intolerable, end quote, conduct of the type the court outlined in Montegudo, then it begs the question whether anything an officer does would cross that line. That is a very, very good point, Miss Scapicchio. And then she outlines two separate kinds of bias in this complaint. And I really appreciated this part because obviously I just got through. Here we go. Everybody take a drink. The Pamela Smart confirmation / cognitive bias. The expert in Pamela's case did that study about bias. And so I thought this part was really interesting. But explicit bias, on the face of it, explicit bias is the worst. When explicit intentional biases occur in the justice and legal system, it is especially alarming as people can be wrongfully convicted and conversely, guilty people can go free. Which Rosemary's making the point on both cases in this one, as far as I'm concerned. And then as far as these biases are concerned, hold on a second. Let me pull this up. Where did it go? We have so much dead air.
Oh, should I be entertaining in the meantime?
Yeah.
Let's see. What can I talk about? We can talk about the Knicks some more. We could talk about Phil Mickelson getting kicked out of his golf club mid-round. I'll say it again. Somebody had to drive out there in a little golf cart, and tell him he had to go. I love that imagery so much. Mr. Mickelson, we need you to come back to the office.
What was he pulled out
Yes.
for again?
For inappropriately touching a female employee at the golf club.
All right.
And
Yeah,
the golf
of course.
club that he has belonged to for many, many, many years they did an investigation so quickly that they had to interrupt him mid-round and go get him and then kick him out. So it wasn't like it took him weeks. It was immediate, which tells
All right.
me that they've got some pretty compelling evidence. All right. You ready now?
I'm ready. Thank you. Let's talk. I just want to talk about the difference between explicit and implicit bias, which is what she goes over in this complaint. Explicit bias refers to the attitudes and beliefs about a person or a group on a conscious level. With explicit bias, you are fully aware of your prejudices and attitudes. That is Michael Proctor to a T, and you choose to express them out loud or through your actions. So that's, I mean, to me, that's everything here. Implicit bias is a little bit more difficult to pinpoint. So
we
it
all
refers,
have it. If anyone thinks they don't have it, they're wrong.
it's confirmation bias. We'll just use a different
Everybody
term.
has implicit bias. Wrong. If you say
Yes.
you don't have it, you're wrong.
Wrong. Implicit bias refers to attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions on an unconscious level. These biases are activated involuntarily and automatically without our conscious awareness or intentional control. So example, so like a manager, like somebody who's in a position to hire other people, they truly believe that they treat all candidates equally, but subconsciously they spend more time reviewing resumes with traditionally white sounding names. That's a white sounding names. That's a demonstration. So you may not understand, you may not know fully that you're doing this, but because of your implicit bias, you spend more time with people who sound like John Smith, you know?
People who sound like you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So going back to the complaint, she breaks down implicit cases. She brings up case law that are implicit or cognitive confirmation bias. And if anybody is interested in habeas with Pam Smart, we have a study about this kind of bias that happened in that trial, but it's based in the way a jury, if a jury is given audio wiretaps that are inaudible and they were given transcripts to go with them, can their brain differentiate between the written word and what they see and what they hear? And the answer to that question is no. Okay. So
we know that from watching Ghost Hunters too.
Yeah.
My kids, my son and my stepdaughter used to fucking love those Ghost Hunter shows. Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, all of them. Get out.
Bias does not stay confined to a single decision maker. Bias cascades. When a bias introduced into one element of the justice system contaminates other elements, and bias snowballs when biased decisions feed back into and reinforce one another, growing in power as they propagate through the system. So powerful. That is so powerful. It's a great way to like break it down too. There can be no claim that Proctor's racist views did not interfere with this investigation of this case as either explicit intentional bias or implicit cognitive bias. To hold the views about Black and brown people that Proctor does and to quote unquote investigate Black and brown communities impartially is an impossibility. Absolute impossibility.
It is impossible. I mean, we literally got it from his own words. I got to
Yeah.
pull over a Black guy for throwing a cigarette out of a car.
Yep. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to give someone a summons or I'm going to arrest them.
Right.
Like I have that powerful decision.
Yes. And I plan to jokingly, I'm sure they would say, tie a Black person to the back of my car and drag them through the town.
Or that Black people are the ones who should be waiting on you hand and foot because you are superior to them.
Yeah, Chip. Yeah,
Chip.
Bear. I don't like it that his name is Bear. I don't like it.
That's all I have on this. Basically, she's asking the court to dismiss the charges against Miles King, which means, and I think Rosemary Scapicchio, I mean, I'm not going to say this is what she's thinking, but there has to be some idea that the guilty are going to go free because of Michael Proctor's actions here.
Mm-hmm. But they might, and they should.
Right.
That's the problem, is they should. Like, I'm not saying it would be so unfortunate if the guilty went. I'm saying guilty people must go free as a result of Michael Proctor's actions. They must. And we just need to know that is the consequence of letting this happen. It's the consequence of our systemic issues. It's the consequence of the Commonwealth systemic issues, Norfolk County systemic issues, the Massachusetts State Police systemic issues, the systemic issues with, law enforcement hiring practices, et cetera. Like, that is the consequence. And sometimes people deserve the consequences to what they did. And no one can reasonably say that the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, does not deserve this, because they do.
I mean, dismissing a murder case is extreme, obviously, but it also feels necessary, like what you just said, because extreme measures, they're needed to stop this, the powerful who are using them against other people, not just murderers,
Mm-hmm. By the way, a lot of Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunter shows fans in our chat.
I see that.
Out.
Okay,
it actually just says like,
I just wanted to answer this question.
Oh, sorry.
This is about Veronica Rodriguez's case. Marley said, how was the essay recorded? Didn't he have her phone? He did. She started recording while they were at the restaurant before they got into the car, because that's how she started to feel uneasy about him and wasn't sure what to do. He was much older than her. She didn't know at the time that he was an officer. He had lied about that. But she started recording at the restaurant. So she just left her phone recording. So even when her phone was on lock and he had it, it was still recording. So that happened. Do you have anything else you want to add to this? I think that I'm done with this stupid Michael Proctor racism for today.
Yeah. All I want to add is that I'm really glad that our community here, and we're keeping our eyes on the prizes here. We're keeping our eyes on the cases that matter. We're keeping our eyes on the insane lawsuits. There's 4 now simultaneous lawsuits going on in the Karen Reed case. There is still a criminal prosecution of Aidan Kearney going on, where the use of the witness intimidation statute in the courts to weaponize against somebody who was writing about the truth, and who stood outside a pizza shop and did some screaming, and who did a rally, and who did all kinds of petitioning and protesting, as did many, many other people. Yet he had the most information, and he's the one being prosecuted. So those are things I'm really proud of us for keeping our eyes on the prizes here. And of course, on the burgeoning and important scandal that is the Phil Mickelson case. And we did a good job staying out of gossip weeds today, and I appreciate that for us.
Yeah, I almost dipped into it.
I
decided not to.
We don't need to do that.
I think there's more important things going on than the stupid creator drama. Java, not all police officers are dirty. My grandpa served for 40 years and took his job seriously. I am sure your grandfather did.
Yep. No one's saying he didn't.
No one is saying all police officers are dirty either.
I take personal umbrage when people feel the need to defend the cop they know, or the cop they're married to, or the cop they related to when they hear something about Proctor. I take personal umbrage at that as somebody with cops in my own family.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the good cops. Many of the good cops know who the bad cops are and don't say anything. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that any of the cops in my family have, or whatever, but the system rewards silence. The system rewards self-protection. And you can be the best, most honorable cop in the world, and unless you're in a department of 3 people where everyone is exactly like that, you are probably rubbing elbows with some form of racism, bias, corruption, bad practices. This is a known thing. This is not a secret. It's not 1 out of every 100 cops. It's not. Look, people are attracted to the profession who want to be able to subjugate people. Certainly not all cops. And I take umbrage at it because I just feel like we shouldn't need to say it. Like, we shouldn't need to say that anymore. We know.
Yeah. Yep.
We know.
I mean,
sure. Like,
there's a perfect example. Barros.
I mean, if you had a jar of jelly beans, right, with 1,000 jelly beans in it, and 400 of them were poisonous, would you feel the need to say, yeah, but the jelly bean I put in there wasn't? Of course you wouldn't. You'd be like, fucking stay away from those goddamn jelly beans. I have a 40% chance of getting poisoned. So Yeah. So I only take umbrage at it. Not, I know you didn't, you meant well, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate the service of your family member. I appreciate the service of my own family members, but I can't say that they're perfect because they were cops in New York City, which is known for being one of the most racist and corrupt police forces. And they were cops in New York City in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like, there's not good times.
Cop in New York that when they figured out, what was his name? It was a huge case that went on for years and years and years, where they figured out that he had all these wrongful convictions because of this one dirty cop in New York, and I can't think of what his name is.
Yeah,
this is Michael. This is what's happening with Michael Proctor right now. We're about to find out how the justice system worked in Massachusetts for the past 10 to 15 years because of Michael Proctor.
Michael Dowd. It was the mafia cops.
It was somebody else. I don't think it was Dowd. It was I thought his
there were the
last
massive cops. There's Ippolito, Caracappa.
Yeah. The one, the Ippolito and the one began with K. Those are the two I remember. But and that's it.
And Scarcella.
Right.
And
Scarcella is who I was thinking of.
No, Michael Dowd was a corrupt former NYPD officer stationed in Brooklyn 75th Precinct during the 80s and 90s. He ran a massive criminal enterprise.
Law Girls Not Attorneys, Louis Scarcella is who I was thinking of.
Yeah. There's a bunch of podcasts about that dude.
I mean, and then let's look at, the thing is, like, more often than not, look at the cops in Baltimore, the gun force,
the gun trace task force.
Let's look at the cops in Long Island with Rex Heuermann. Let's look at, I mean, like, this is not. And it's not, we're also not just saying that, like, cops are racist. We're also saying that there are a lot of corrupt cops out there that, and there are corrupt judges out there. These are people who have power over fellow citizens' lives. Mark Furman, great example. Like, there are people in law enforcement, people in our justice system who have huge power over our lives. And don't we want them to be, like, above board when we're on trial?
Yeah.
I mean
think about it. Like a very, very divisive case, the Adnan Syed case.
Yeah.
One of the cops in the Adnan Syed case, Detective Ritz and McGilvery were, like, really, like, they were just characters in the Serial podcast, and, like, take them at their word, blah, 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 blah. Detective Ritz his work has led to several wrongful convictions being overturned directly, including another young person of color who was put in prison the same year as Adnan Syed, a case in which he fabricated evidence. So, like, it's not, and to think, well, that was that case, not the Adnan Syed case. It's the same fucking guy. Thumb on the scales guy. Come on.
I think that we don't, maybe some of us realize it, but we're not really thinking about it in terms of, it doesn't have to be overt racism or overt sexism or anti-Semitism. It's just putting their thumb on the scale so they can have a good rating, so that they can have a good, like, oh, I got this, I'm a good investigator because I got this case, I got a conviction in this case. It's putting their thumb on the scale, and that is horrific to me.
High clearance rates should set off alarm bells.
Yeah.
Every cop who's ever, like, been taken down for a bunch of wrongful conviction cases, they always have, like, extraordinarily high clearance rates. That should rates. That should ring alarm bells.
Who was the investigator who ran the CI, the Spotlight team? I think just did the.
Oh, what a great podcast that was.
You know what I'm talking about,
I know
right?
Who you mean. The guy in the Massachusetts
CI.
town. Yeah. So
he had like a 100% rating of, like, breaking suspects or whatever it was. And it's
that's something you should pay attention to when you see that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've hit the nail on the head there. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, Mel, thank you very much for being such a wonderful partner in this podcast.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I adore working with you. Your sensitivity and your empathy are a great match to my wryness and cynicism. And I think we are a very good team. I think if you like our show, please consider sending us a tip in Venmo or becoming a member. If you become a member, you can join our members only stream at 5 p.m. tonight, where I will drink and Mel will make me watch something that will make me very embarrassed.
Hint, it's going to be Michael Proctor.
Thank you very much, LMP69, for your $10.
Oh,
LMP 69 says, if you want a story about corruption that will blow your mind, look up the Battle of Athens. The fat electrician did a great show on it.
amazing. I love you too, and I think you're amazing. I don't think you're as cynical as you think you are. And I do think I just want to say, for all the people who are going to come at us for, speaking over each other or interrupting each other, we do that because we're passionate, and it's the way it happens. The delay does not help us.
Also, I can't shut the fuck up. Let's be real.
Same. I can't either. I talk so much, and we interrupt each other. It's what we do. I don't get mad at you for it. You don't get mad at me for it. It's just the way it is.
I get mad. I just stuff it way down into my Italian feelings box.
Bullshit. You don't get mad at me.
I don't. I could never. I could never be mad at you.
You can't get mad at me. It's homophobic. And it's Pride Month, Rebecca.
You're right. You cannot get mad at any gays this month.
No, especially me. Did I tell you I'm a lesbian?
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is me saying, what? What is that? Who says that? What's his face? Alessi. What could be worse?
Where, when, and why?
What could be more irresponsible?
Why?
And by the way, our dream guests for the show are still Kelly Dever. I kind of want to see if Gaetani wants to come on. Really, for sure. I know you've been lobbying for it. I think that could be fun.
It seems like people want that to happen too. I don't know. Maybe we should reach out to her.
We'll do our best.
I think
we have to get some of our podcast friends on and back on, because I would love some of their takes on some of this stuff.
We should get Aiden back. I feel like he has so much stuff to.
I want to get him back on before his hearing, which I hope to be able to go to in July. The motion to dismiss hearing. I was all set to go to the last one, and obviously it didn't happen, so I couldn't go. You should.
Maybe I should try to come into New Hampshire.
What could be more egregious? What? What
do you mean, no turtle boy, Callie?
Callie, it'll be fine. You can just not watch that one.
It'll be all right. Don't watch it.
Just choose to not watch that one if you don't want to. But I actually would recommend. I recommend watching when Turtle Boy comes on our show, because I believe he reveals a different side of himself that most people choose not to see or never see. So,
cognitive bias, confirmation bias. So anyway, all right. I love you. I will see you back here at 5 p.m. And that is for our members only stream. So if you're not a member, the lowest level to become a member is $2.99. I would highly recommend it. We also do our Are You Fucking Kidding Me tier, which is a little bit higher, and you get ad-free episodes. So we re-release the episodes ad-free just for those members. And we also do a once a month pop culture stream, which I think this month we're probably going to do True Blood, right? We just don't know the date yet.
Suge. I do not know the date for our live stream. Suge.
Suge is mine.
Suge.
Wait, what is this? Law Girl said they clipped it to message LG. Awesome. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Suge.
I'd love to have Lindsey on. I think Lindsey is incredibly intelligent. I'd like to hear her story. And for those of you who don't know anything about Veronica's case, please go listen to the In Between podcast. I put the link in the chat. And it's called From Victim to Accused, the Veronica Rodriguez story, 7-part series. Veronica's on social media, so go and support her. She's pretty great. And her story is really powerful. She's in her appeals right now. So, okay, all right. We love y'all.
I gotta go. I have a task I need to do, and I will see you at 5.
I will see you at 5. Somebody just became a member.